Hello, hello, hello. Just trying to get us all set up here. Just trying to see what I could do here. All right. We'll just get some people cranking here. The old hunt companion. Coincidentally, something did die. Wasn't Jared or I, but we've got some special guests coming on for your hunt companion. One of which has just killed a freaking stud. I think we've got a booner in the driveway right now. So, Justin, that is one of the two special guests. We have Mr. Chris Brackett in the studio here for tonight's hunt companion. So it's gonna be wild. The other one, and we just were out there playing around with it, is we've got Mr. Bobby Kendall in the studio as well, who just killed a hammer up here. So things are gonna be pretty freaking wild today. So we've got Brackett, we've got Kendall. Bobby just got here, so we were just kind of out there checking out the deer and stuff. So we're still wrangling everybody in here from that. So give us a few, but appreciate everybody getting on for Sunday. This might be, because we've got guests and it's our Illinois deer camp essentially. This might be a little bit longer of a hunt companion, would be my guess. I'm thinking that we're probably gonna roll on this thing for at least an hour and a half, would be my gut feeling on it. So, hey, oh yeah, supplies. Thank you. Yeah, come on. Well, I need Bobby's. I need another headset if Bobby's coming on. That's Jared, everyone. You know him. Hi. Yep. See, 4 fingers. No, that's the right hand. Cool. I'm trying to. I must be getting old because I can't read the comments. Oh, Skalma. Yeah, coming home from Mount West, man. This is gonna be fun, and as long as you hold service, I can guarantee that this one will be a blast. Yeah, Skalma killed one long range, brother. I wonder how far. Don't text and drive. Your wife will kill me. But sometime tell me how far that shot was. So yeah, we got a lot of really cool stuff to talk about today. Obviously, Bobby's here. Just killed a big one here in Illinois. Jared and I and Brackett have all been hunting pretty hard here the last few days in Illinois, and you're definitely in that kind of weird stage of the rut where difficult to get on these things. They're just holding tight with those and doe bedding areas. So we'll kind of talk about what Jared and I've got planned here over the next. It's going to go womp 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 on me, isn't it? Potentially. Huh? Sorry, guys. We're just getting situated. So Jared and I drank. There it is. I knew it was coming. Can't bump the soundboard. It does that. Jared and I were drinking the old Coors Heavies here last night, but we pretty much killed that one. So fortunately, one of Brackett's Airbnb guests left us a bunch of diesel behind. So that's what we're going to roll with as well. Yeah, I don't know. Can we slide this? Yeah, there you go. I'm just going to slide you up a little bit. That good?
We got people on?
Oh, yeah.
Hunt Companion!
Yeah, see, I couldn't say it until you got on.
Hunt Companion!
There we go.
There we go.
Everybody on. So
this wide angle looks great.
Yeah, it looks great.
All right.
So it is November 10th. For anyone that looked at my story from Instagram yesterday, I thought it was November 10th yesterday. We've kind of just been grinding for the last week. You know, we went from Iowa to straight into Illinois, nonstop. And, you know, I think Jared and I kind of talked about it earlier. The thing that was kind of interesting, we've said it before on the podcast, is like when you catch these weather fronts, you know, coming through, especially the Midwest, you can only be in one place at a time. And so we had the decision to basically say, are we going to start in Illinois with this front, or are we going to start in Iowa with the front?
Uh-huh.
And we obviously chose Iowa.
Yeah.
Paid off.
Easy choice.
Yep. Literally a mere 2 to 3 days later, we hit Illinois and probably some of the worst weather that we've had in a while.
Yeah, I mean, it could be worse. I mean, it's not great, but it's, I'm going to turn this down here a little bit.
Yep.
It could be worse, but I mean, they're definitely, like you said, I think we're seeing some lockdown is what we're seeing here, guys. So we had some rain and like a low pressure system, which is never great. But I mean, if they're rutting, they're rutting, you know, I mean, it might be at night and stuff, but what we've seen, so today was the third day we've been here.
Mm-hmm.
So we started on an evening. So I've got an evening and 2 full days under our belt. And on at least 2 different occasions, I mean, we've got bucks in thickets, snort wheezing at 2-year-olds and 1.5-year-old deer walking in them and stuff. And so, you know, it's not like we're just, we're not in the right spot. So we're saying, they're locked down or whatever. It's just, you can hear them in there, you know, and even Bobby, who's going to jump on here in a little bit, was, I don't know if that deer was locked down, but he was in this thicket, presumably with a doe for a period of time. And he just waited him out, you know, and was in the right place when he came out of there. And, guys, we want to be able to show you the rack tonight, unfortunately, because it's still on the deer's head on the back.
Maybe we'll probably do an Instagram at some point.
We'll throw it over to Instagram or something, but it's a great deer. It's a 70-something 5-year-old buck. He's been hunting for, or watching anyways, for a few years. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
And in a weird way, like we've seen some good deer. I mean, we've got cameras down here, and we've got a big 8 that's probably 4 or 5 that's daylighted a bunch. Just, you know, around the farm and in between where Jared and I are sitting. We had a newer buck, probably like a 4-year-old 10-point that I'd say is mid to high 40s show up recently, and I think I saw him this morning in a food plot, kind of trail him, you know, a couple minutes behind a doe. So yeah, I mean, we're seeing some bucks moving around, but yeah, it's kind of the same story across the board for a lot of people, at least in Iowa and in Illinois, you know, relating those 2 states, is that we're in this lockdown period.
Well, and there's elements that are above Jeremy and I's head. So I'm sure Bobby's going to want to talk about his moon phases. And he's got his Discord channel and stuff. We'll let him talk about, but so I'm going to bust his balls to say, hey, I also had a rising moon tonight, and I didn't see shit.
I didn't see shit. Yeah, I didn't see anything. I got winded by a doe.
So I had the same moon you guys had.
Yeah, I don't know if that was moon related, but it happened.
I can talk crap because he's upstairs eating tots now, so he can come and set me straight here.
He was hungry. He was living on granola. So
he's been rutting hard.
Yeah, all of us. Yep. Just looking at comments. Hey, veteran. Yeah, we did score my buck 165 on the nose. Yeah. Which is kind of funny. So Jared and I have now had its process, right? A few days of what happened in Iowa. Yep. Just watch my phone. It'll tilt. And what's kind of really funny about it is like and this is no disrespect to that deer, but walking up on that deer after recovering the deer and just kind of, you know, the whole process there, it was like, yeah, this is a good deer, but
we were tainted. Like we had just been handling like 6.5-inch base, 26.5-inch beam monster.
Yeah.
It's just a different animal, you know? And so it's, you know, Jeremy and I have never looked at a mid-60. I mean, it's almost a booner.
It's my second biggest deer ever.
That's what I mean. It's like on any different occasion, we would, I don't know how to change the reaction, but it definitely had some impact.
It took like, when we were here in Illinois, I had it sitting out on my tote outside, and I don't know, we came in from the morning hunt, and I walked by it and I'm like, that's a big deer. And it's because it's finally like been disassociated with your side by side
because we just got to keep them separate.
Yeah, I just have to keep them separate. So segmentation. But yeah, it's been freaking cool to see that, and yeah, it's been fun. Drew, so I've got all the video stuff from my over the head GoPro. I was a pretty big cluster with my phone side of things. I haven't reviewed the whole 20-minute encounter on my phone, but if I did get it, it was not much. Nick's gonna do his magic and put some stuff together. It was pretty cool. Like I talked.
Did you end up? You look through all the footage?
No, I haven't looked at all of it, but I don't think.
As far as we know, we have 40 minutes of footage.
I think it's 20
and 0 deer in screen.
Yeah, it's 20 and 0. It's just basically
a lot of tree, a lot of sky.
Yeah, and just me snort wheezing at myself. That's basically.
That's all right. That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, so it'll be kind of cool to try to replay that in my head, and I'll work with Nick to kind of lay that out for you guys. But it was a really cool example of just, at least how I was processing that deer's behavior and attitude. And if I chose to grunt, if I chose to snort wheeze, how frequent I chose to do either of those to pull them in. So, we'll end up putting, I think we're not exactly sure, but I think the Iowa film is going to probably be all together. The main chunk of it's going to be Jared's hunt because he got that on film, and also like going out to Iowa, like just to build up. And then the end part will probably be that Nick and I will figure out how we're going to kind of put that through. And then Jared filmed the recovery and everything like that. So we've got all that in film too.
Keep in mind, we the expectation for those, I think for me, has been exceeded. So I mean, the whole point was just to bring some in the field stuff to pair with podcasts. I mean, the fact that we killed one on film is like beyond my expectations.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys are happy with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Don't expect. I know we just had Huntsucker on, and some of these high level like the Heartland Bowhunter guys.
Yeah,
it's not that. It's phone footage and it's GoPros and stuff, but it's fun for us, and it's it is really cool. I think in hindsight, and truthfully, it hasn't bothered me at all this year. Like in the past, I've just been really annoyed with the process of feeling like, why am I lugging this camera around, and this is stupid, and it's just extra stuff to get in a tree and deal with, but. I've really enjoyed the challenge of it this year, and frankly, it really hasn't been that hard. Like even filming my deer, it wasn't hard.
Yeah, and honestly, mine wasn't as much like I just didn't choose not to do it. It's just he was doing things that I wasn't expecting. Like he was coming to the base of the tree on the other side of the tree for me. Like there's no way I can move to move the camera arm to have that happen.
There is a trade-off. Like I find it's either filming or binos.
Which is what I first did when I saw him. I glassed versus like, honestly, I couldn't have got it over there on the angle, but I glassed because I was trying to figure out if it was a deer I was going to shoot. Yeah. So that was even today. Like I had that buck come through the food plot, that 4-year-old or whatever. When I saw it, I'm like, oh, good buck. So immediately I go GoPro on. And then I went binos. Well, obviously my phone's not recording anything.
To get that GoPro running.
Yeah, and nor would I really have seen anything because it was just through, I was looking through trees and stuff. So, it's again, I think it's just kind of more of the documentation. We just want you guys to, as we have these kind of discussions, whether it's podcast or Hunt Companion or whatever, we want you to be able to kind of put 2 and 2 together when we start to talk about like, hey, here's what this looked like.
Wait till you see this deer that I filmed in Iowa hitting a scrape and stuff before I shot him. And I told everybody already about the bad shot and stuff. So you'll get to see that. But it's to see a deer like that on the hoof, you know what I mean? Even though it's just phone footage, just like, holy cow.
Doing deer things.
Look at that thing. Yeah, just doing Iowa deer stuff. Like I'm like, what is he doing?
3 o'clock coming in, just crushing a scrape. Yeah. Yeah. He's not looking around.
Weird.
He's not freaked out. No.
Yeah.
So and so like Jared said, we've kind of had 3 days here in Illinois. We're gonna get out tomorrow morning. If we don't shoot anything tomorrow morning, I think we're gonna pack up and head back home, spend some time with the family and stuff, and then we'll regroup to figure out what the weather looks like to come back maybe before gun season. I don't know. I was in the bedroom tonight. I didn't see shit pretty much, but I'm gonna go right back in there. I left everything in there for tomorrow morning. So if it did what it did this morning, I'll be in some deer, whether it's one of our shooters or not. I don't know.
What's our lone wolf
I think it's just
Code.
Hunter. It's either Hunter or Hunter 7.
If you guys are starting to think about like Christmas gifts, or if your spouses are asking for you and stuff, like, dude, that's like, I mean, other than your bow, that's got to be like the most important thing. You know,
Mhm.
it's like just to be able to go in and hang and bang where they're at and stuff. And you know, obviously, you can't have one in every tree, but if you have 2 of those things, which I mean, if you're buying them at full price, I mean, that's going to put you close to a $2,000 price tag for 2 of them, I think.
With sticks, yeah.
With sticks and everything, you know, so whatever that promo could get you, and obviously buy one at a time. I think I bought one the first year and then one the next year, and then you have like your fleet. But those are, I mean, you got to have them, and it's not like they go bad or they age or anything. I mean, that's a piece of equipment you'll use for
it's built
for years and
tough.
years.
I mean, if you guys saw the Instagram story tonight, I hung in a squirrely Osage orange tree in the middle of this bedding area. It was like 4 Osages split, just sticks on each side, and get in there. And I've got a 0.5 with me down there, and it's like I am tucked in there. And I mean, trails are intersecting there. There's no way I would have been able to get in there and even feel comfortable. Like, we had to go down a deep creek bank, through the creek, and back up the other bank. And it's like, it just, everything feels compact and sturdy too. Like it's, you know, I've got a backpack. I had my jacket. You know, I've got that on. I'm carrying my recurve. Like it just, sometimes just like having that convenience and comfort is a confidence builder as you're getting in the woods. No, we've all probably done it before, where we get in the woods and we're trying to hang something and we're sweaty and it's not going right. And like, it sets the hunt off in a bad direction almost right away. Any comments?
Yeah, I was looking at this one here from Brendan Conway. Said, but verified too. Why is it making me do that?
I don't know. Did you get hacked?
One sec, guys.
Oh, the boys are coming. Hold on, we gotta verify something because Jared's 20. There we go.
Okay,
we're back. Sorry. You wanna come in? What's up? You have to knock? It's your house. I guess not.
Come on in here, boys.
Yeah, I guess you sit next to me.
Brennan, I'll read your comment here in a minute.
Yeah, come sit next to me. Come on, Bobby. I won't bite.
Damn it, Bobby.
Chris, we were going to build a fire, but then we're like, you don't have any wood.
Where's your wood at, bro?
I don't know.
No, what the fuck are you doing? You're over here. What? Oh my God. Hold on, Bobby. I'm not hugging you. I'm
you
just
want to be there?
Give me Chris's thing here.
We got a wide angle thing here. We can probably.
This is cozy. I feel like I'm back in the
that where you wanna be?
studio days.
All right, here we go.
That is nice framing. I don't mind you there if you're comfortable. All right.
Nice.
Yep.
Left side, right side.
Okay.
Right side.
Well, here, then I can move this in for us.
It's going to make the noise.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
We good?
Now we can read comments and everything. Look at that.
Look at that.
Okay, we're all there.
Hey,
And
hey.
if we had an HDMI, we could play it on the big screen.
Where's
Nick?
Nick's at home.
Yeah,
watching
with this
over,
girl, probably.
Well, here, I'll finish this comment here real quick, and then we'll introduce everybody. So Brian was asking how with the CWD laws between states, how do you get your trophies to the taxidermist crossing state lines and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 things that you can do that I know of. We cape all of ours. So I caped 3 deer in the past 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good skill to have, right? So I mean, if even you can cape them to the neck, and then there's like lots of YouTube videos online, and I assume so. Anyways, I mean,
It's a fun project though too.
what's that?
It's a fun project to learn young.
Yeah. So that's the main thing is if you can cape them out, I would do that. And like Jeremy and I bring a Sawzall everywhere we do, so you can get the cap and pull everything out. And
Clean.
You're
Bring it
good.
in your pocket.
You're good to go.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
We can roll the cape up, put it in the freezer, and then keep it in the cooler on the way home. And then the other one is check with your taxidermist. Some taxidermists, and I don't know if it's every state, but I know Trav in Ohio.
It has like the CWD.
He's got some kind of a
authorization or
permit
whatever.
where as long as you take it straight to him, like it's fine.
He can dispose of it
most
properly.
of them in PA are like that.
Yeah.
As long as you're going from here to
your
that
taxidermist.
taxidermist,
Mm-hmm.
do not pass go. Do not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like 200
So option
bucks.
2 would be just ask your taxidermist, and if he can, frankly, I mean, I would consider doing that. But the problem is when we have like 4 or 5 days.
Well, I mean, if we're
Here
driving
still.
13 hours from Iowa to Pennsylvania, we're not just having that deer sit in the bed in the truck, like
Exactly.
which is why we cape them out, we debone it, it's in the cooler, it's ready to go.
Yeah, I think the caping, I mean, like you said, that's a handy thing to know how to do. And if you can gut a deer, you can cape a deer. It's You can
Yeah.
make some mistakes and they can fix it. And the big thing is just the
eye duct.
eyes and the
little eye
duct,
duct.
yep.
That's it.
And once
Yeah.
you learn how to,
Sometimes the eyelashes.
It's fun.
I cut
I
Jared's
enjoy
off
it.
1 year.
Yeah, I don't let Jeremy cape mine anymore.
It was one
My
time.
first Kansas
You did
deer.
it
He's
on
like,
purpose.
okay, you
One
watching?
time.
You did it
Are
on
you
purpose.
watching? Are you watching? And there's my
He's like, do you think it'll be fine? It's like,
He's
like,
like,
looking
your
through a
tax service will be able to
pillowcase.
fix that. You'll be fine.
You'll be
I
fine.
always do all kinds of extra, like just pull that out if you in doubt, you know.
Yeah, they're gonna flesh everything out anyway. So it
It's
doesn't matter.
literally the only part you have to.
I was
look out
trying to
for is
think
the little
if there was a
gland.
way to balance that out further, Jared.
Maybe I'll just set it.
Yeah, put it over there.
far away.
Here.
It might be harder to hear, but you'll be able to see everybody here. That's your Instagram deal. Yeah, gotcha.
What do you think of my basement, Bobby?
this is nice. This is very nice.
Yeah,
It's
I
nice
love-
on a snowy afternoon.
I love the
There you go.
travel rig here. This is pretty sweet.
turn it the other way. Yeah, right there. And then you'll be behind Bob. Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, nice job.
Thanks.
All right,
Anyways,
well, welcome. Bobby and Chris Brackett. Bobby Kendall.
What's
You
up?
guys have both been on the podcast, so
Awesome.
need no real introduction. But first time meeting you in person.
Yeah, it's good.
And-
It's a good time to meet. Yeah.
Heck yeah, dude.
yeah. Good one.
Slam the Giants.
Slam the giant.
He
Come
doesn't have
here.
to get up in the morning.
Did you feed Bobby?
I did.
I did. Yeah, it was excellent.
You
Excellent.
feel better now.
I do. I
Shout
feel
out to Royce Corbin's white sweet corn.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yep,
Yeah.
they're watching.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Oh, word.
So
Yeah.
we the freezing of the white sweet corn worked. I
Spot
thought
on.
it was awesome.
It's great.
I even had Jared try it raw. How
Nice.
sweet it was.
You raw dog
I don't
it.
mind raw sweet corn. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
raw dog every once in a while.
Yeah. I get it. I get it.
Uh-huh.
Bobby, you got any stories from today?
Yeah. Well, I don't.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
Bobby.
Yeah, let's start with that.
That's it. Everybody asked right away. They're like, because the last two that we've done, we've killed something.
In our minds, we all killed tonight. Like it felt right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, well,
It felt right.
at any moment,
It could.
one of us is going to kill.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, we get the text. Bobby's like, I got him.
I got him.
Oh, great. Well, somebody killed.
All right. Well, come over here because we need you to
come
be
here
here.
because we need a deer.
We need
yeah.
you to be here.
Yeah, it's been an interesting deer season, that's for sure. But yeah, I've been doing the old rut grind thing, you know,
Mhm.
where you're just like trying to let probability catch up, and you're here and he's there, and you're there and he's here. And the last few days, I really I was sitting there actually before I shot him, and I was like, all right, I feel like I've got ground zero figured out now as far as where he was bedding the most frequently, you know, and this is one of my farm. So we did a series on our YouTube this year where started in the spring, and we followed like a fully developed, like over the top, all the tricks versus just a lease, my lease farm where I can't do anything except for hang and hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I killed this deer tonight.
This was the least one?
Yep, this was the lease.
Yeah, so you can't do much.
So no
Can't do anything.
management really.
No, can't do anything.
That's why the outside corner?
Yep.
I mean, that was why that premise was there, right?
Yep. So, and that's honestly, it's the way, ironically, you know, people see all this stuff we do and everything. It's the way I've killed most of my big deer. A lot of our farms are sold by the time they get to that point. you
Right.
know?
Well, sell mine then. Jeez.
Yeah. So, but there's nothing like, I mean, yeah, you want to beat your head against a wall a lot in the rut and stuff, but there's still nothing like chasing one around, hanging, hunting in the hardwoods of Illinois. And that's what this was. It's one of the prettiest farms I've ever been on. It's one of my favorite places. And so, yeah, the last few days he was hanging back in there. I thought I was going to kill him the other day. I went back there and got hung on this little island of woods. And about 2:00 in the afternoon, I saw him cutting through really slowly through this inside corner about 60 yards from me. And I was trying to figure out if he was cruising or if he was just kind of milling around his bedding area, or if he was with a doe or what.
Yeah, but hold on. The most interesting part about this second deer, dude. First off, he's already killed the giant.
Yep.
Then this is number 2. But the most interesting part was it the day it rained when you shot the video, and your other one daylight before you killed him, right?
Hold on back. Which?
You went to Presley's and you bought all the cameras, and you went hub scrape.
Oh yeah.
Like you figured out, you started narrowing down and you went in. That was the most interesting part because you didn't have the other one dead.
Yeah.
You took the day off from that to go get on this
Go
one.
set this one up.
You
Yeah.
took how many cameras did you buy that day? And you went in.
Quite a bit. So I have this thing where
A
like
few.
Undisclosed.
I have this thing where like I when I'm hunting a deer, I stick to that deer. Like
Mhm.
even if a bigger deer shows up, I
You just
don't
grind out.
deviate.
Right.
Because when you start hunting multiple deer,
They're scattered.
your probability goes down, especially in the rut, So, and anyway, like in that whole video series, part of what we talked about on an undeveloped farm and stuff, it's just the intel is not as good, and the tightening of the noose is slower. As the season goes, and I did get a picture of them, and I had a day I wasn't hunting, so I went up there to move cameras / I bought a few more, and just start. Once I knew kind of he was on the north end of this farm, I started. I probably doubled up the cameras that were up there. Not that there was a ton there in the first place, but
And he did a super duper video with the guy with what's his name? Your buddy, right? You did it on that hub, and then next thing you know, bang.
we did a well, the crazy thing is,
Well, I mean, you did a good job documenting. That's why I want to
yeah.
tell everybody, 'cause
So in inventory
legit.
mode, I got cameras in the summer, one camera per 30 acres or so when I'm trying to find one. But up there is a little bit more than that. But the one camera we put in that hub scrape, I said, we need to come back to this next year. And I talked about how there's going to be a lot of midday walkers in this spot.
Mhm.
And so, we went up there a few weeks ago to shoot the phase 2 of that series, and the camera didn't work. So that's why I didn't know about this deer earlier, is because the one camera that was up there right in his core wasn't working. So I put a reel out, and I talked about how there's 2 stands because it's such a good spot, and there's a hub scrape, and just talked a little bit about the difference between a hub scrape and a regular scrape. And sure enough, like the next day he was there at 2 in the afternoon in the hub scrape.
in the daylight.
And
These
so
giant beams.
yeah. And so, but then, he did the old rut stuff where like
Mhm.
I go to hunt there, and then I get a picture of him on the other side of the farm. And it's like, I say sometimes it's better off just to turn the cameras off and think like a deer, because it'll keep you in the highest
be the
odds
trail camera.
spot, even though
don't chase the pictures.
yeah. And so anyway, I saw him going through that inside corner, and there was a part of me, because it was still early in the day, and even before I saw the deer, I almost went to sit in that pinch, because it was just inside the woods, right down from me. That stand in the hub scrape was only 60 yards or whatever. But I was like, not going to shoot a deer out here from noon till whatever out here in this field, most likely.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I would go spend some time there, or I had another stand, but I was like, I'm just going to sit here, because I figured if I go in there, I'm going to bust a doe, and then it's going to be all over.
Ping pong.
But that was before I saw him. Then once I saw him and he was going really slow, I was half tempted. I'm like, this is dumb.
Had him off.
I'm like, this is dumb, but maybe I should get down and get into that. But then the more I watch him, I'm like, he's not really in a cruising frame of mind. I think he's just milling around.
Are you a caller? Like,
no.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, when you see him doing that at 60 yards, are you calling at him or
no? Because my thought is, on a mature deer, when you call, you're basically telling them, hey, come over here and go downwind of me and smell me. I mean, that's the outcome most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy had to hold in his inner PA person when he got out here.
Yeah.
Now it does work. I mean,
Mhm.
it does work. I've killed deer that
Mhm.
I've called in and stuff. But I just think the odds are, and there's situations where you have a cliff behind you or a pond,
You're
or
saying it's high risk.
it's just high.
You don't want to tell them where you're at.
I look at the season as this big, long, methodical
Mhm.
thing, and I got all this time, and I also think that you can mess up pretty bad and not affect.
I think that makes a
We're the
lot
same,
of sense.
We're the same creature out here.
Yeah.
Me and Bobby.
I was gonna say you're the same strategy. Whereas
Doesn't matter
like
it doesn't matter who we talk
Jared
to.
and I are in the bedroom. I'm cracking horns tomorrow morning. Like, because
But
I'm leaving at noon.
Yeah, you're leaving at noon.
I'm leaving at noon.
But
so
it also depends on, like, if you're somebody that is coming out to hunt for a week, it's a different animal.
it's a whole different strategy.
Or if you don't know what deer are there, and the hierarchy of dominance, all that stuff matters. But really quick story, not to deviate, but the biggest deer I ever killed was 211, and I saw him cutting across a field in the middle of the day, and I grunted and snort wheezed at him, and he ended up finally, after like the third time, he just crossed, saying, here he comes. But he came about 50 yards down from me, and it had just poured rain, and he stopped at this creek down here to my left, down the wood, and it was raging, muddy creek to its banks. And he stood down there, and he looked down at me, And then he'd look up into the woods, and then he'd look down at me, and he'd look up for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And I could tell he was like sitting there thinking, I want to get behind this deer so bad,
but I got to cross this.
And yeah, I could feel his frustration. Then finally he turned, and he walked down there. And he stopped like 15 yards behind some vines. I remember thinking to myself, please God, don't let him come out yet, because I'm not going to be able to draw my bow, because I was just like in a state of locked up. And anyway, he left, and I shot him the next morning, but I'll never forget that.
You didn't kill him that night?
No, I killed him the next morning across the field. The wind had switched, but yeah, I'll never forget that. I could feel that deer wanting to get behind me, and he couldn't. You know,
literally a physical barrier so that he couldn't.
Yeah.
So what happened that night? He just hung up at the vine, and then
He just stopped
left.
as soon as he got like a turkey hanging up. As soon as he got to where he could see the plot, he lifted his head up and looked, didn't see what he wanted to see, and he just turned around and walked back in his tracks. But I also think that, like, you know, there are some days that I'll call, and you know, I feel like you can feel the energy in the woods. I haven't felt that day yet.
Nope.
But there's only a couple days it happens. I can tell you 3 years ago, it was November 5th. But when it happens, then I will, because it's just electricity.
Like, it didn't happen last year.
And there's just bucks. And you can tell that they're in a frame of mind where they're not going to go the extra.
No, they're
effort.
just responding, period.
But it's a very
he
small.
experienced that the other day.
Yep.
In Iowa.
Yeah, that's when I killed that one. Yeah,
it was
just,
right.
Yeah,
It always goes back to thinking like a deer, you know, even something like that.
I mean, that deer stood downwind for me for 15 minutes.
He said he was so wound up that he snort wheezed him 3 times, and he was just in the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, from the moment I saw him on my side of the river till I shot him, he never once stopped being bristled up with ears back.
And it's always risk reward.
Sure.
You were in Iowa for a week.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah, you
time to
gotta
get
go.
aggressive, you know?
Yeah.
And it's Iowa.
And it's Iowa.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talk to people and they're like, I'm like, yeah, I can't believe it worked. They're like, well, you know, I snort wheeze till they either leave or they come in.
Yeah.
They just keep doing it.
They're just deer. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes they get
But
too
John
much
Denver's full of shit, though, isn't he, Bobby?
I've been known to say that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's me and Toby's little saying sometimes. But
Yeah.
when we're in an area that everybody's, oh, there's giants everywhere there.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
like, John Denver's full of shit.
Yeah.
He looked at yours upstairs, and he went, that's a big deal for only being there a couple of days.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it was like,
Especially in the rut,
Because he
it's
owns
just-
a bunch of farms in Iowa, too.
It's just so the rut is a probability nightmare if you've only got a few days.
I
We've
was
been here for 3 days, and it's been like the opposite.
complete
of
opposite.
You
That's
know?
Illinois, though. Like, Illinois is.
I don't know. I mean, we
It's
sat
its own beast.
We sat 6 times last year and killed 3 mature bucks here.
And I looked at those statistics last year and went, that was pretty awesome. Like,
Yeah.
you guys picked the right day, and you left your farm alone.
Well, so that was what we were just talking about
Yep.
before you guys came down. It was like, you know, when these fronts come through,
Yeah.
right? You can only be in one place at one time. So for us, it was like, do we go to Illinois when this front comes through and start there, then go to Iowa? Or do we start in Iowa and then come there? Had we flip-flopped it, we'd be saying probably the same thing in Iowa.
I got
right
another
now.
theory about your farm. Now that I know it, last year they had nowhere to hide. It was all cut down. So they had to run those cricks, and they had to be up in that one sanctuary and the 3 or 4 or 5 little spots or whatever. And so, like, when you rolled in fresh as, you know, frog hair and rolled in, it was like bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, they were killable.
This year, it's almost a growing year.
Mm-hmm.
Food, set up, everything. They're all spread out. They're all in ditches. That's what we think they're doing anyways. That's what we were talking about, feast or famine for Illinois this year, was like you were either on 1 or on 2 like he did. And I've got one using only the north side of my property. And it's like that right? Isn't that what you're talking about? Feast or famine?
Right. Yeah. It seems like, you know, there's guys I know that have thousands of acres and they don't have, you know, a shooter. And then there's other guys I know that have like, I'm like, what? You've got more big deer than we've got on 4,000 acres worth of trail cams. You've got that on 4 farms in the same county.
Mm-hmm.
They're like crazy.
Yeah.
And you haven't even done anything to the farms. So it is so. I mean, it is like sometimes the whole thing is like the lot. It's like a lottery or going to a horse track. I mean, there's so much of it. It's like statistics and probability, and that's why I'm a fan of like having multiple. I'll always run a trail cam anywhere I can get permission. Permission farms, leases, farms we own. Like the hardest part about killing a big one is finding a big one. You got to get good at finding big ones, and that's why I like the whole having a lot. I'd rather have 10 acre pieces than 100 because you spread your odds. If you do your job on 10 acres, you're sampling 1,000.
Yeah.
So you do that 10 times, it's 10,000 acres, and your odds are so much higher than having a 100 acre farm and sampling 1,000 acres.
And once you find that deer, then during the season at least, like you're honed in, you're locked in.
Yeah, I get pretty. I just kind of obsess about them and play the game. So
because it's been when's your podcast aired on Tuesday? What's today? Sunday.
I don't even
Thursday.
know what day it is.
So Thursday it aired, right?
Thursday night.
Me neither.
And that's when did you kill? When did you kill your other one?
Like 3 days
shortly
before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
he didn't want to talk about you hunting it for whatever reason.
I just told Bobby he hasn't had time to listen to it, and I go,
we're not going to say his name. I'm like,
we're not gonna say
Bobby?
his name.
What are you doing?
Yeah, and then
Finally, I was like, fine.
Then like
Bobby
3
Kendall
days
shot
before
a
it
deer
airs, he's like,
twice.
Bobby killed it. And I was like,
Yeah.
see, perfect. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wild deal.
He shot.
I shot a deer on the developed farm,
And you shot him perfect for him to duck. He did not move.
but I also shot him low. I was a bad shot. It was crazy. It'll be on our YouTube and everything. The deer, like this is the developed over the top farm, right? Green to grain mowed corn, woven wire fence, tree koi. The deer comes out. We
I
film
think
him
you
for
just got-
half hour.
I think he just got one from Don Higgins and let it out. The deer did something so perfect.
I mean, this thing comes
He
out.
literally does.
He goes into the woods and single file a doe, another buck, 20 yards behind her, 150-inch deer at 20 yards behind in a single file over the course of 5 minutes. And then he's in the back.
Early
Come to the
October.
hemp rope.
Early October.
He comes to the hemp rope.
Early November.
Yep. Rising
Early
moon.
October.
Oh, October.
Magic X, rising moon, puts his head in the tree koi at 20 yards. And my buddy Justin was
Vampire
filming.
walk.
Stupid.
My buddy was filming me, and I went to open the window, and he said, no. And there were so many deer in the mowed corn I couldn't see. And we kind of got confused on what was going on. And then we both kind of agreed really quickly that he was going to leave the hemp rope at 20 yards stretched out like this for me. And he was going to go,
Well, he was too close
to right here.
Open the window. You
And
were
I was
scared to
I was
death.
scared of that too, but I would have been good because of thermals anyway. So, but he should have 9 times out of 10, he would have gone into the corn, put his head down in the mowed corn. But he left the tree koi and then he trotted the 70 yards past all the deer and just started eating down there. But then he ended up coming back to 44 and I shot and I just shot low. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. I shot low and still looked like a dead deer. The broadhead had gone in like this, probably would have been a dead deer. So we hound tracked him. And then 2 or 3 days later,
I said he'll be
Could
on.
you see that it didn't? You could see it went in horizontal.
oh yeah,
Well, Bobby was convinced
Wow.
like every time we've ever gutted a deer, their bellies explode. Right. And I was like, he hadn't been there eating long enough for it to, like when
To
they
expand
sit. Yeah,
out.
right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I've seen him hit there. If you're a little far forward, like I don't think it clipped it. And so they found bed after bed. And I said, within 5 days it'll be on camera. It wasn't 2 days.
yeah, it was 2 days, and that's power. So it was 2 days, and it was half a mile north. There was a picture of him, and
Wow.
I went and got set up, and here he came, caught me off guard, came behind me, and like as soon as I saw him, I don't even know how he didn't see me. I grabbed my bow, I spun around, I came to full draw, got my eye in the peep, and as soon as he was going through my lane, like he was through my lane, and I didn't have another shot. He was about to go downwind. I dropped down to my knees, and I found a hole through the hedge tree, and it was like, you're thinking about this quick. If the deer didn't have a arguably fatal wound, I don't know that I even would have shot through this hole.
Yeah.
was like it was like the feeling of like
Get another one in them. Get another
being
one.
on
Yeah,
a
yeah.
trail and you jump the deer and you're trying to
stick them.
that was kind of the way it felt, and it was about to get downwind of me. So anyway, I shot, and I heard my arrow hit stuff in this in the treetop, the hedge tree or whatever, and I could see the arrow kick, and I was like, and I have this thing where I like black out when I shoot a deer, like of excitement, and I was like,
Which is fun and problematic all at the same
I was
time.
like, I'm pretty sure I just watched the arrow go into the same gaping hole. And I'm like, my friends are not going to believe me. But the first time that I shot him with a 7.5 with the bleeder.
Yeah, the hybrid.
And the second time, I shot him with a Beast 2.3. So I'm like, well, even if I hit the same hole,
It's bigger now.
This is a whole different animal.
It's a little bit
We get
bigger.
another 0.7 out of it. Yeah.
And if it just odds are I'm not
Rotates.
going to hit the same, that'd be like not very statistically, So and then he ran off and went down to the woods and stopped, and he was flicking his tail and he was looking around. He walked down the woods, and I'm like,
Dead deer.
that looks more promising.
Yeah, he's hurting.
So then we get the blood, Tracker John back out, and we go
He's like, again?
bloodhounding again.
This is when you're asking me about Tracker John. I'm like,
Yeah.
all I know is he's doing is hanging around
We're gonna get
Bobby.
Tracker
every
John.
day.
I was gonna say he's
just
busy
with
with
Bobby.
Bobby.
Me
right
and
now.
Tracker John go way back.
you have a tab at this point.
So Tracker John says that I have a horseshoe.
Just take my credit card.
And he says I have this horseshoe and stuff. And me and Tracker, I used to guide years ago, and I played music, and I played music at these outfitters and stuff, and traded for hunting. And I used to trail with Tracker John, and it was always funny because I basically would put toilet paper down on the blood because I am colorblind. I cannot see blood like at all. It's horrible. And so, but me and John go way back. So anyway, so we track this deer again with that bloodhounds. I mean,
Get on him again. Yeah.
actually the day after I hit him the first time, we grid searched and found a bloody bed, and then we tracked him again.
What was the assessment of the first one? Low heart is
It
what you
was-
were hoping for?
It was like this, but it wasn't very.
Low liver.
I thought it
Stomach.
was stomach.
Okay.
And come to find out, there was just, I mean, that thing had a lot of fat.
He had so much fat in that bottom.
He even had there was a picture of him in a scrape that
Oh.
looks like intestine.
It's like foot long hanging out of it.
It's a rope.
And
It's the
it's fat?
weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. And it's just crazy. I sent it to Lee Lacoste. He's like, yeah, that's just fat. I'm like, how do you know that's just fat? It looks like a rope. And he was right. And
It was hanging out when you found it?
no,
No,
in
in the
the
trail camera
scrape.
pictures.
And I said, this deer is living his best life. He is walking around like nothing happened after we bloodhound tracked him twice, grid searched for him once,
No,
So do you know
no
where?
deer wanted to die
Do you
like
think
this deer.
you literally hit the same spot?
Oh no, I know where I hit him because the third shot was a charm. So, but the weird thing about the second shot was it was like a flesh wound. It was like you took that beast and whacked him sideways like a machete. It was just a gash. It didn't even really go whatever. So
Oh, because you were.
so I think when it hit that limb
Yeah.
and it kicked, it just whap. It just, and then my arrow was stuck almost straight down.
So it almost like went up, tail up, and then.
So I made a bad
nosedive.
shot the first one. The second one was a bad
Sticks.
shot, but it was kind of like a whatever. And then this deer, he just locked back in.
Which is
this-
insane at this point. Like the fact that this
It's
deer's-
insane, but it's not. I mean, like I've seen it so many times where big deer, like once they call something home and they're that age,
He's
it's
just not.
really hard to
This
run
was
them
proof in the pudding.
Out. Oh yeah, I've seen it. so
I
many
called
times.
him every day going, no, give me the saga. Where he at?
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Yeah. So anyway, then he really locked on. And if you watch the video on our YouTube of the fully developed farm, it is like I never put so much brain power into like that level of strategy. And when he locked back in there, I mean, he couldn't leave. I mean, because now we're going into October and his mindset is to be around
Yeah.
Other
going
deer,
going
lots
in
of scent.
November.
and food
Yeah. He spent all his time putting in his hierarchy right there.
and mowed corn. And so actually there was another day, let's see here. I can't even keep it all track, but there was another day I'm sitting there in the blind. And I was talking to my buddy, Alex, and I'm like, dude, you're not gonna believe it. He's in the field. I'm like, for real. He's in the clover. And sure enough, he was down in the corner of the clover and he came up, and then I lost legal shooting light. He went up almost like the first night I hit him, came down through and walked 15 yards through my gap past legal shooting light.
Still had
I'm
got
like-
killed.
So then I hunted with a south wind right there where he had looped to twice on the high center of the clover. And I got down that day because I was going in through all the food on my e-bike, walking it down the hill, coming back to the stand. And then when I'd leave, I'd go down to the e-bike and out the back of the farm. I was doing a huge loop. I was halfway down the hill. My phone went off. I looked at it, and he was right out in front of me in the clover behind me. I was like, this is insane and then I started getting in my head. I'm like, how have I not, like, what is going on here?
He's still walking. What's wrong?
And then Halloween night, I thought for sure I was going to kill him because then he really locked on to one green to green fence gap thing. And I couldn't believe I didn't see him Halloween. Then then 2 nights before Halloween, he walked the 2 days I decided not to hunt. It was like 80 degrees. He walked in daylight both days.
One of those nights, one of the days where you were doing the hub on the one you just killed. That's what I remember. That's what you were doing that day. And you're like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
I'm standing at this other hub.
So then I'm like,
He
I'm
ends
going to
up
hunt in the
killing
heat.
buck off.
So I went in the heat, and that was the day I was halfway down the hill and he was out there. So then the day after Halloween, so it was November 1st. I heard, I didn't even hear something. I opened the window curtain and looked out behind me in the switchgrass, which was my basically my egress, ingress, egress design. And there was some deer running around, like something was chasing. I saw a smaller buck, so I didn't really think much of it. And then the one doe or whatever came out to my right. And again, there's a segmented part of the electric fence that I left up, specifically part of the fence so that it's easier to manage throughout, putting it back up and stuff. But I did it in a way that it pinched. And then I had a misted trail through the switchgrass to bring the deer in and dump them out broadside there. And anyway, she came out and she was looking back, and I just looked in the window. I'm like, oh my God, that's it. So then I got drawn back and had my back up against the window, and it was kind of trying not to hit the window. And I smoked him that time. It was like 23 yards. So that was the end.
That probably felt pretty well.
Yeah, it felt very nice. It was very nice.
It's kind of weird though, because we've talked about it a few times of like when you have those, and obviously like that's to the extreme from an encounter side, but there's a bit of like a remorse afterwards, because it's like, think of like the chess match you played with that deer, like epic.
Yeah, I describe it as there's an energy that leaves the farm.
Yeah,
you can feel that energy.
Yeah, we talked about that when you killed yours in Iowa. We went back out to do pictures of mine.
It's weird,
and it was like empty. Yeah. It's a beautiful farm. It's the middle of Iowa.
It's like knowing nobody's home. So you're like, I'm just gonna go out on this farm, and it's like, he's not there.
You do whatever you want.
You do whatever you want. Yeah, not gonna mess anything up. He's not there.
Yeah.
Has anybody noticed how chill Jared is since like he killed his big buck?
Well,
has anybody noticed on there?
Dude, he's coming off a pretty big like adrenaline high.
Yeah. It's weird.
I think it's wearing on him.
Yeah.
We stayed up late last night talking about this. Jared's a changed man forever.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I didn't say that. Did you?
Yeah.
Me and Jeremy
that was the
did.
conclusion.
Well, it's just more of a, not wanting to feel like that's going to happen again soon. You know what I mean? Well, and I don't feel at risk of that because there's deer on our Illinois farm that are nowhere close to that size that I would shoot.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to
days
go home
later,
and sleep for like 2 weeks.
You just never know. You just never know where the next one is. Could be right around the corner.
Well, I don't even know that that's what I was hunting. Like, I mean,
yeah, that was there was an ignorance is bliss portion of that.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, the deer was way bigger than I expected. When I got up on it, I was like, oh,
where's my deer? I've had those.
Yeah. Well, even like, because Jeremy and I were like trying to figure out on the ride out where we were going to go hunt. Like so I killed that one on Beaumarsh farm, and we had another permission farm an hour west of there, and then we had a few scattered in between us. So we had all these options, and we did not have any cameras on Beaumarsh stuff. He threw a few out. We did not have any cameras on the big permission farm that Jeremy killed on. Those guys hunt it, and they were running some cameras, but they're Iowa guys, so whatever that tells you. And so they would feed us some pictures here and there. And so Josh sent us a picture of this deer, a video, trail cam video of him hitting a scrape, and we're like, oh, there he is, great, great deer, awesome.
Yep.
And we talked about it. I was like, what do you think that deer is? Like high 60s? Like he's an 8-point, with his big kickers
It's
inside.
got some trash.
I was like, let's say he's a mainframe, whatever, 155 8-point, it's a big 8-point. And with his junk, I was like, he's probably high 60s or something. So anyways, Jeremy's like, all right, cool. I'm going to go hunt this other farm. And there was a spot that we both really liked. We walked to it.
We shed hunted it in March.
Yeah, we were with the landowner. We walked through the spot. He was giving us just a tour of the farm in February, March, whatever. And one of the very first places we went to was like the spot. I was like, you can kill every deer on a farm from right here. And Jeremy and I looked at each other like, this is it, dude. And we had that win the first
pin
day.
dropped.
Yep. Yep. And so on the ride out, it was like just decide, because I'd been talking to Josh and we were like, whatever. It just made sense that I was going to go hunt that farm, and it was close by, and then Jeremy was going to go to this other one. So actually, I borrowed one of his trucks too, so we could split up, divide and conquer. So he went over, and
we got in at 1:30. We both were.
I guess that was the point that I was making. Though, was like we weren't like bickering over this deer. Like we had no idea.
Right. Yeah,
the two East Coast guys were coming out, and like we should have been like geeking out over that thing, and we were just like, yeah, it's big deer.
Or at the very least, being like, what do you think? Maybe I'll go hunt here, and then how do we want to like volley this or whatever?
The weird thing would have been,
I didn't mean to hog him,
had there been like another 60s-esque type buck on that farm, I bet you and I both would have hunted it, because that was the original plan. We were like, well, let's just both go hunt Bomars. We'll there's 2 access points depending on the wind, like we can both pull that off.
Well, we were gonna,
but there was only that deer from a shooter standpoint, so we're like, well, it's just one of us.
Yeah,
that's great.
Right.
That day we were gonna scout it. Like we were gonna we had the the Polaris, the electric buggy, and we were going to go. It was raining that we drove out a day early so we could go spend, because we'd never been on the farm.
Right.
And Bomar, there's no stands anywhere. It's not like set up or anything. He
hasn't even really been on it.
They planted some food plots. He's never hunted it. Bought it this year. And he's like, knew that we drew. So he's like, yeah, you guys can help yourselves to the farm or whatever. I mean, he's got other deer he's hunting and stuff. So we were going to scout it that day. And then, like you're saying all the time, you're like, I felt something shift, and you're like, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, it's gonna clear up here.
Well, you got pictures of all kinds of bucks on that farm, just everywhere, right?
On the one I killed on?
Yeah, just bucks started moving in the middle of the day, and it was like change.
Well, yeah, but we could just feel it clearing up. Like
it wasn't supposed to.
The low pressure system was gone.
Where you were, right? Like
it started like
I was like in a misty hell.
The sun came out, and we're like, oh, dude, we need to be in the tree. Like now, it was like
11:30.
Like let's hustle. So we showered, ate a sandwich real quick, and then just went our different ways. Got to our different stands, and I mean, dude, it felt right. Like, I mean, I guess I can say it now. But hindsight 2020, I was like, I knew I was going to kill that deer that night.
It did, in that like you had like cleared out bluebird skies. I'm an hour west, and it was like just
still drizzling.
Freaking Niagara Falls mist like the entire night. I was like, what the hell? This sucks.
Yeah, I call that a magic X day.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're. It's when the pressure is rising. The front hit today. This X is a very long, slow front, but it's when the pressure is rising. Cloud, and you can see it right on. Like I use Weather Underground. Cloud cover, humidity is a huge one. Temperature.
It doesn't feel heavy.
Have you noticed? Does it feel like it's been really humid here the past couple days?
It has, but it was starting to dry out today.
Yeah, it felt better today.
And some of those fronts, the X looks like this, and they're longer and slower. The best ones in the world are like this, and they're also timed to where basically it's that day. It starts out gloomy, stagnant, humid, cloudy, dreary, and then by prime time it's bluebird, crisp, drier air, colder. And those days that the front hits that fast and that pressure goes over 30.2 in that prime time.
You weren't hunting yesterday, but that's exactly what it did here.
It is. Those are
blue skies,
especially in October when you know what a deer is doing. I go to the woods like this because I already know something. Win, lose, or draw. Draw a couple times.
Right.
Something's gonna happen.
Maybe a couple times. Yeah, but it's set up right. Yeah. I thought it was gonna be like that tonight here. It did cloud up a little bit at the end.
It was weird. It started. I actually posted on our Discord like it felt magic X-y. It was the wind came in, the front was coming, and the clouds were burning off. But then all of a sudden it was weird. It like the clouds came back
Came
in.
back in.
Yeah,
I
it
looked
was
and
weird.
I looked to the west, and I'm like, man, it look, you could see like the shelf coming of clouds. I'm like, what the hell? That doesn't make sense. And then it just kind of, it just hugged right there, like it
Yeah.
did.
And we all only saw a couple.
The other big thing we
Yeah.
got going on right now is the moon's rising.
So talk to us about that.
So the moon's going to be full here in a few days.
It's 15th, 5:23 at night.
Yeah, so the moon was rising today around 2:00, which is right when I saw that buck moving around in his bedroom. And those are the subtle things that I kind of
Rising. So you're saying a few hours before it's overhead.
So Bobby puts like real intellect to my weird green thumb and feelings. I don't want the technical stuff. You guys know me well enough to know that takes away from it for me.
Well,
I
you can feel it.
You just
know how
want to lick your
explain
finger,
it.
go outside
Same
and be like,
thing,
I'll
no?
kill him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill him today.
I'm going hunting.
I get it,
anyway.
and we all
I'm going
feel the
hunting
same thing.
anyway.
Like we're all
And then
saying
when-
we can feel that. Oh, what the XE or
Bobby's making magic X's over here and just slaying
and
dragons.
this guy, like
Man,
Yeah.
I'm like vampire zombie walk 48
Chris
hours.
just walks out
And he's
butt
like-
ass naked, and he's like, "Yeah, it feels like a good day."
He's like Discord this.
well, but
that.
the rising has nothing to do with the fullness, correct?
No,
No, that's the
I don't know anything about the chart, the feeding charts. I don't know anything about a red moon. I don't know
Right.
anything about any of that stuff. I can just tell you that over the years, when that moon is rising around prime time, morning or evening, it is a push to get them moving. Perfect example, and this is kind of like it's little things like today over the years that I watch and I kind of think about and catalog. That deer was moving around in his bedroom today, right when that moon started rising. He didn't need it wasn't enough to make him go like out in the field and eat or whatever, but there was something that was making him walk around in his bedroom.
Well, right when we were talking, I had a 2-year-old bedded with a doe. I thought maybe he was satelliting my bigger deer where he's at. Still think so, but the same time when we're texting,
Yesterday
2:30,
I had
same
two
thing, standing up.
5+-year-olds walk. And what's cool about our Discord now is I'll post it in there under the channel that's called Moon Phase. I have Date Phase or Mindset where we talk about date phase, which is also the mindset ultimately. And then we have I've got a weather channel, and then I have a moon channel. And as there's things are pertinent to one of those things, because I think all things big buck movement are related to one of those things. Their mindset, which is also the date or the phase, the moon or the environmental. So, but what's cool about that is like I'll post in there, like yesterday I posted, all right, guys, we're in the week leading up to the full moon, or date phase mindset. We're in the time of year that I really want to start hunting all day, midday. That was like the 6th. I put that out. And then I'll say, if you guys are getting pictures, that help prove this or whatever, post.
Support it, yeah.
And it's just amazing all the pictures that, coincide with it. So, and just there's all kinds of outlier stuff. And then the rut, there definitely is, because date phase or mindset, that part gets so out of whack that it's hard.
Right.
Some of the stuff you can just feel it and it's subtle. But, a lot of people are saying the early part of November was slow. It was a dark moon. And that's just, it's probably the least powerful. Fronts trump everything.
Sure.
That
makes sense.
And the mindset, like especially in October as it ramps up and they're marking territory, their mindset gets more powerful to get them in trouble. But when you have a perfect storm, like this year, you had the full moon on the 17th, and you had that wicked front leading up to it. That was the first. And we had a Magic X day 2 days prior to the full moon, and that deer I shot the first time, he came out like as the moon was rising behind him in the video. It's rising behind him, and it's just so powerful. And I know, like I've caught glimpses and stuff, people just bashing the moon guys and stuff, and it's like, I mean,
people have been catching fish.
It's
around them forever.
crazy how powerful it
Well,
is.
that is the red moon thing. I think right. It's pretty close to what you're saying.
Well,
So
no.
all that
Red moon is overfoot or underfoot or overhead type of thing.
So you're not acknowledging the underfoot
the
necessarily.
position of the moon.
Well, no, he is. That's the overhead.
No, he's saying
Well, no,
he
it's the
didn't-
rising
It's
of it.
rising.
Yeah,
So
rising
He's
to
saying
overhead.
he hasn't gone to that room.
Yeah.
he's in these 2 rooms. This other room that Hayes came up with the red moon or whatever.
Yeah.
He's going, I just haven't been in that room yet.
Right.
I created my other 2 rooms.
Well, that's what it is, though. The red moon, like Hayes explained it to us because we didn't know. He's like, well, and basically what we derived was it is when the moon is overhead or underfoot within X amount of time of sunrise or sunset. So your peak time.
Chlorophyll, borophyll.
So
exactly.
That's
So that's basically what you're saying.
So
You're saying rising moon
on the day of the full moon, the
has
sun,
nothing to do with the phase. The red moon does not.
Yeah. So the sun sets at the same exact time that the moon rises on the full. And the full moon, like you don't generally see a lot of deer. And people say it's because they feed all night because they can see. I don't think that that's correct.
You find that on the backside.
I think that
I do.
it's just late because that moon's rising right at it. And I've seen some giants on the day of the full moon right at last light. And I've seen it enough times and know it's like a thing.
Yeah, and it's in front of us. So like we talk a lot. I go chlorophyll, borophyll, no fancy anything. I just go like, I can tell you that to make it safe to anyone listening to the Discord, to the podcast, to my Facebook lives, whatever it is, I just go, make it safe 48 hours before the full moon, because that what he's talking about is that full moon being straight ahead, straight up. Sometimes that full moon is right here as it goes nighttime.
I think the most
sunset.
powerful place is like the is
Yes.
the day or 2 days before the full.
And then the reason I'm saying that is because if you listen to the news, if we were to turn on the news and look 3 days from now or whenever it is, the 15th, that the weathercaster guy is going to be like, well, that Wednesday is going to be a great full moon. Well, he may be completely full of shit like John Denver, right? Because that full moon may have been 4:30 a.m.
Right.
Technically it's on the 15th, but it just happens on this 15th. That direct is 5:23, 5:38, somewhere. I'm off on it, but it's in the evening right before dark. So it's a perfect storm, like he's talking.
Yeah. So for example, real world, example of using the full moon, because it's something you can predict. So like I applied for gun tags this year in Iowa, second season for me and my wife. And I did second season, not first, because now we're late season hunting. This is when the moon really is powerful, when you're hunting late in October, because they're deer feeding. You don't have that wild card of the rut.
Yeah, the rut month.
Get rid of the emotion.
So I chose the second gun season because the first 2 days of second gun in Iowa is the day before and the 2 days before and 1 day before, just because. And then when I get there, like to hunt, I didn't draw a tag, but she did. So when she gets there to hunt, and I'm living vicariously through her, and if we get, normally I would only evening hunt those late season days, but especially if the weather's not great to get them up on their feet, if we pass that full moon, and I do this in October some too, well, now there's something in the world that I believe is going to up the odds that they're going to walk in the morning. So then I might try and figure out a way I can get a little sneaky vantage point to where I can hunt that food in the morning, because
wait till the sun comes up and like gray light creep in and see who's out there.
And I probably won't go trying to get between bed and feed and all this stuff. I'll probably just try and create a situation where I can.
And we're not telling everybody like it's magic. It's not black magic.
It's very, very powerful.
It's just one of those things where we both agree. And
is this your vampire walk?
This is.
It's very powerful.
You got the vampire walk. Like
what is the correlation though between the position of the moon and the phase? Is it just the time? It just so happens that the full moon is happening at the timing that you like.
So that's where my brain goes, Billy Madison. I don't want to know why I can shoot aspirin out of the air from behind my head or between my legs. Like, I don't want to know why I can do that. Right? We've had this talk, right?
Yes.
Sounds like he's avoiding the question to me. Is what it sounds like.
No. I know where he's going.
So there's things in my life, right? I got a really hot wife that lets me do whatever I want.
Okay.
Yeah.
To her, just in general, is what you're saying.
So I'm not going to go dissect that. I don't need to know why. That's just a fact, right?
If you're going Billy Madison, you like bag lunches.
Yeah.
30.
A damn Sasquatch.
A guy I know
Yeah, another
got it on.
Yeah.
So like I have things in my life, whether it's you throw an aspirin up in the air and I can shoot it out of the air with a friggin' bow, and I made a living at that. Like I'm not going to go dissect why that worked. It doesn't make any sense. I've been shooting flying fish. I'm not going to go back and like redesign that. So when it comes to the moon, and I just go like, holy shit, there's 30 dead deer on my wall in the barn, and I start thinking back, going, full moon, Canada, full moon. And I would start in September 1 and hunt through February, sometimes in Ohio and whatever. And I started going like, these things all died within 48 hours of a full moon, always. And when 85% of all those big deer that are on the wall, 60 plus, whatever, that I got mounted, I just went, I don't know what the technical anything is about it. I can just tell you that out of 3 full moons in a season, 2 of them I killed a giant deer on every time.
Yeah. Well,
60% of the time it works every single time.
Yeah. Sex Panther.
Is that the same thing that you're talking about though? Like he's talking about full moon.
No, so
you're talking about a rising moon.
So Bobby loves to go to the next place with these things. And so I'm just telling you, like,
well, what you're saying is
Something about-
straight. I understand it.
I don't really
48 hours
dissect
of full moon.
it. I don't really dissect it too much either. I just know that I look forward to. But here's the deal: the moon rises, so it rises and sets on the day of the full at the same time. The day before the full, the moon rises 45 minutes early. The day before that, it's an hour and 45 minutes. So if you work backwards from full moon 45 minutes a day to the day we are right now, the full moon rose at 2:00, which was when I saw that deer
It's a
walking
sliding
in his
scale.
bed.
Okay, so
That
it
makes
does
sense?
have to do with the full moon.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
on your regular Apple. Sorry, you don't have an Apple. Let me go ahead and show you what that looks like.
It's
Yes, please.
it doesn't. I don't think has for what I think
look.
it doesn't really have anything to do with like the phase.
Phase.
It's
So-
just the position in the sky.
Right.
Like-
So technically, could it have been
Now the morning.
a waning crescent
I have
at
no
that
idea.
point?
But what
We
you're
don't
saying,
know.
what
That's
you're saying though
astrology.
is that the phase of the moon does dictate its position.
I don't know anything about that.
Mm-mm.
I just know that.
No,
So
that's what you just said though. You're like on the full moon, 2 days before it rises at whatever time.
yeah. It so it dictates the time. So the day after the full moon.
You're the one with the master's degree or whatever. How do you
Not
explain it
in
to
not
him?
in astrology
I'm
or
with-
whatever we're
there's
talking about
There's
here.
a sun and there's a moon. The
Uh-huh.
only way that the crazy bastard gets full is it has to take the full sun to get full.
Right.
The only way it goes new is it's completely hidden by the earth, right?
Yeah.
That's all Bobby's saying.
And even simpler. And I literally don't think about it any more than this.
Chlorophyll.
I understand. No. I'm trying to understand or
Yes.
differentiate
Yeah.
if you guys are saying the same thing or different things.
So the morning after the full moon, now the moon rises after dark, but
which is not good because the timing of that.
But
is
the
not good.
morning,
not because it's not a full moon.
That's that dark side of the moon stuff.
But
after
you
that.
are saying because it's not the full moon.
but
Like
the
Pink
yeah.
Floyd.
as soon as it starts getting smaller on the backside of a full
You
moon.
see, there's the problem. You moon guys need to get on the same page with
Yeah.
what's what, so I
So-
can understand.
So if you watch your cameras the day after the full moon, I think you'll see that there's a lot of deer moving in that hour after.
So we have to
dark.
focus on the full moon.
Yes.
Are we in agreement
Okay.
on that?
Daylight.
Here, it's
Yeah,
the
there
week
seems to be.
leading up to the full moon is magical for evening sits. The week after is magical for morning sits because now in the morning when the sun rises. The day after, the moon rises 45 minutes after sunset.
Bobby
sunlight.
should go work for SpaceX.
Okay.
Hey, Elon. I
Yeah,
mean,
But this is why I don't go down rabbit holes. There are
Yeah.
other things in my life that I go down rabbit holes.
But
there
you
are
only have to
some
do
things-
it once, and once it clicks in your brain, you understand it. That's what I'm trying to get.
I
to.
don't understand anything more than
Yeah,
every
how that
day
works.
before the full, it's the moon is rising closer to prime time of deer hunting.
There's
Yeah.
a there's a
And the
logic
day-
here that makes sense.
and the day
I'm going to go out
after-
on a limb and say that is what the red moon.
No, because
It's
here's the
not.
problem with the red moon is like, and I don't have it right now, but I remember when we went
I'm
through
calling
with
Adam.
with Adam and
That's it.
Rising, it was like they're like, well, yeah, we kill all our deer on the red moon, the entire month of October, 23 of the days were the red moon. And I'm like, well, no shit.
Well,
as long as you hunt.
Because that's how far before sunrise or after sunset they're calling prime time.
Well, how can 23 days like make a difference?
It's not 23 days.
It was. I looked at it.
I think it's like a week here, a week there. There's like two full weeks.
It's telling you like 3. I don't even have it, but I call friends that have it that go, I don't need all the crap. Just tell me what today is. And they'll go like 3:25 to 5 o'clock is a red moon. So you're right. Like 23 days out of 30 are red moons, but they have
different
like 2
timings,
specific hours in that day that are red. Right. And that correlates a little bit with what Bobby's saying. And I'm going,
for clarity to
I don't
these
give
guys.
a shit about any of it. I just say, if you're going to take off damn work,
in or around the full moon,
better make it the 2
if
days.
You're doing it and if you're doing it in October, it needs to be the week leading up to, because we're evening hunting.
Right. Yeah. Now
in the rut, it's kind of like I'm paying attention to it and stuff, but it's just there's going to be big deer.
Mindset's going to change.
There's going to be big deer moving. But I can feel the people talking about how the first part of November wasn't as great as they thought. And I think I've heard people saying these evenings are getting better. And I think you're going to see these evenings getting better. And then it's going to be.
When's the full moon this year? Or this one?
It's like the 15th or the 16th, which also, in my opinion, in Illinois happens to be like peak lockdown.
Really?
I always take the 14th and 15th off to reset if I'm still in the grind.
Dang.
That's not to say there's not big deer, because
I feel like it's peak lockdown right now.
but that's like when I feel like I see button bucks and fawns.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Just
it's like,
and
it's interesting because like people around the country will ask me like to help them figure something out. And we always try and figure out what's the day that you see button bucks and fawns. And then because like Kansas is a little later than here, and Iowa is, I think, a little bit before here. So if we can figure out that day, I try and like count, like I know, like I call October 27th boomerang phase. So that's so many days back from November 14th. So if their button buck spree is the 18th, well then we're
bumps it forward.
So then I'm like, okay, boomerang phase, you know, where you are is, you know, so but
well, it's got to be. It's like, state is a big geographic area too. Like, I mean, it helps to have that, but I mean, it's got to be.
Booze will help this discussion.
You think it's doe group to doe group is what's dictating the peak lockdown?
I think, and I said this,
and they're probably all syncing up. Like,
I said this to somebody the other day. They said, "What phase of the rut are we in?" And I said, "Well, if you could show me the doe that is around the buck that you're hunting, I'll tell you what phase we're in." Because basically, his mindset could be anything from seeking to breeding. So his mindset could be what you see on a particular day. Just is all about what's going on in that woodlot, because there's does coming and going. All the time.
And it's not like all the bucks are doing the same thing at the same time either, right? Like a buck maybe.
I love this conversation,
and that's why it's so hard to to formulate opinions. Like if it's just you or just you and a couple buddies, because unless you're like like outfitters have a pretty good, they have so many people in the woods, they can get a decent average gauge of what's going on to an extent, but
they know what they're looking at.
Yeah. But the Discord thing is cool because everybody's in there talking.
And an outfitter too. Well, I won't sidetrack on this, but dude, I'm at a point where I don't trust anything anybody says about deer in the woods. Yeah. They're like, "Oh, I saw 140." I'm like, "No, you didn't." They're like, "Oh, he was chasing a doe." They were chasing a doe. I'm like, "No, he wasn't."
Yeah.
But you can imagine if I did, right?
Yeah. You really can't believe anybody, dude. Especially in Pennsylvania.
That thing has got some serious mass.
It's nuts, isn't it? Wild.
Okay. Wow. Jared's been sleeping with it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it might be slippery.
Snuggly?
He's glossier than he was yesterday.
That's serious.
That's wild.
That's when they get the banana time thing going. It's nice.
It's nice.
Real nice.
Huge.
Very nice.
Crazy.
Wish somebody called me banana time.
What's your definition of the rut? I think this is one of the greatest.
Definition of the rut?
Yeah.
I would just say it's the entire breeding cycle and leading up to.
Don't go biologist on me.
That's
listen to
I bet we have the same answer, Chris.
Well, that's what
I guarantee you we do.
The rut
is whatever deer
is all year.
It's all year. Dude.
Their whole life is
Mhm.
they're growing their antler for the rut.
I had one last night that
The whole year is a
it
rut.
might have been 3 or 4 glasses of wine, but I said that we should
It's
consider
probably more than that.
maybe
There's a bottle eventually.
it's okay. I'm a big guy.
It's only one bottle.
And I didn't go anywhere.
I
had
could
to
drink.
walk-
I could drink a bottle. I've
I had
drank
to
two
walk
before.
like 2 would be bad.
Oh, I could do two.
Oh, that
Not
that would, that
tonight.
would be bad. Just
Nah,
that would pickle you
nah.
a little bit.
All right. Just wine. It's grape juice.
I think we can consider they're always on lockdown. We should like, are they locked down? Well, they're kind of always on lockdown, and sometimes they walk. Like if people looked at it that way, they would go, I'm hunting a lockdown
Yeah.
until he walks.
You're basically because they walk a lot less than
Those animals
yeah
are
they walk
always
a
on
lot.
lockdown.
Mhm.
Like I don't think it's talked about as much as like just a reminder. I didn't know if anybody knew the white-tailed deer, the bigger they get, the older they get, the more times they've been shot at and spooked and whatever, they're nocturnal. Like I don't know if people realize how nocturnal they are. And when we see big deer, how many pictures you got of them squinting when they get out of their bedroom and they walk in the daylight? Right? Or no?
I guess I never looked at their eyeballs.
I've got one I call Cheech. I got another one I call Chong. We killed Cheech. But every time these deer, the first times that they would walk into a food plot, like they're coming out of a lair, man, and they would walk out in that high pressure day with that sun.
Mhm.
Go back and look at some of these trail cameras. You will see them physically coming out of these bedrooms, walking in that plot for the first daylight, and they're, this is velvet. I'm even talking velvet. Like they are not as used to it.
Yeah.
So the rut thing, I think their whole life is geared around getting ready for whatever. But when somebody says a rut, obviously they're talking about November and stuff. And the way I look at the whole, that's why I call it date phase mindset, is because it's not just rut. People will be like, are we in the pre-rut? Are we in the rut? But you really need to understand a lot deeper than that, like the mindset. So the month of October is a ramp up of testosterone, and it's a territory marking mindset. And then there's a light switch event where they go from that to looking for a doe, and there's a bell curve of does that come in right up to the middle of November and down. So the biggest, most mature deer in the woods is going to get the first doe and
Mhm.
lock down.
Mm-hmm.
So the lockdown. So I a lot of times think that the hardest time of the rut to kill a target deer once they start seeking does is that first, 10. It's the I call it the pre-lockdown cruise phase, because that's what it is. And you get chasing, you get everything under the sun in there, depending on what the doe in the area that you're watching is, where she's at that particular day. And so then you have lockdown, and then when you have what I call the post lockdown cruise phase happens, like the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. And that's when now every day there's less and less does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the giants are the most vulnerable.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, that's when we
talk about that a lot.
that's when
It's on the backside of it, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
because now they've had a taste of lion, and lion tastes good, and they
Mhm.
can't find another one. And that's when you see those zombies. That's
Yeah.
when you see one 3 miles away. That's when you get a random in the rut. That's why gun season in Illinois is so deadly.
Deadly.
I like to bring it back to common stuff. Like common stuff to me is, I don't think that a lot of hunters know, you being a biology study
Mm-hmm.
or person, whatever you
Mhm.
want to call
Biologist.
it. Yeah, biologist. Is he a biologist? I didn't want to go there.
Jeremy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to lock it down. Okay, biologist.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
that a lot of,
identify as one.
okay. I don't think a lot of people know, man, that the subspecies down South Florida twice a year, Alabama, January.
Yeah.
I think that is really just overlooked in common knowledge of 101 whitetail. Guys just getting into it. Guys are just buying farms from
Mhm.
all of us being realtors, or except for Bobby. Bobby develops them. And but I think people need to just have that 101 understanding that the rut is different times throughout the year, four different places, right?
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, dude, like when I went to school in Mississippi, right? I could go to Northwest Mississippi in the Delta, and majority of like the peak breeding and rutting activity was like, November 18th to end of November, first part of December. And then I go to the coastal plain, right down in, on the Gulf itself.
Ocean.
And it was January 20th to February 5th. And like geography based, it was whatever, 190 miles apart.
I was going to guess 200 miles.
Yeah, it's not far at all. And then you had everything in between from that side. And people would link it back of like, it's the restocking efforts, right? It's different genetics type thing. It's not, it's environmental, right? I mean, the difference is like those deer in Northwest Mississippi and the Delta, they've got better soils. So when the conditions are right, they want to have their fawns in the best conditions possible for food, for cover, etc. You go down to the pine sandy beaches of the Gulf Coast, and like, they're basically trying to figure out when's the best time to drop them so that they have the survival through, fall into winter time frame. I mean, those guys are dropping doe or dropping fawns in October,
which is incredible. When do you think the first does in Illinois, Iowa? Well, let's just go Illinois.
I bet it blows people's minds how early it is.
I really think so too. And I think the big boys don't care.
See, well, that's what we've gotten is, and the more and more we talk about it, the more and more I think it's true. Is like, I don't think dudes like this, that doe is just, when she's ready, they're together. There's no chasing.
You're saying when does the first one come in?
I think you're looking at October 16th to the 18th.
I would agree.
First ones. I think the last ones are even into March, because I had one last year that had spots October 17th, and I looked underneath my stand and it looked like a rabbit.
Yep.
And we still had spots. So I'm like, well, that one's not going to live. When? And I did the math.
Yep.
Not real good at math though, but
there's herd dynamics and stuff too. Like if you've got a really skewed sex ratio and stuff, like that's going to throw it deep.
That's next to the park.
So you do.
Yeah, really jacked.
So yeah, I mean it's it. Like I know we've talked about before. Like I've got 28 acres behind my house in Pennsylvania. Every year, like clockwork, if that doe's still alive, October 23rd or 24th, they're chasing like crazy there. So I'm not saying that something hasn't come in before that, but that's the first doe. That's the first one I know of in that area.
I had a couple really old deer on the big lease today that were walking. Textbook, 4:00 in the afternoon, walking, doing their thing. Here we all were sitting in great spots in a lot more unurbanized, like wilderness, and we didn't see any of that. What?
No.
Bobby kills one.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think? He just lost his doe and was coming back in
tonight? Yeah, he was without tonight.
It's probably the first time he wasn't without.
He was just between does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what the frustrating part about the rut is. Like
that's what we should probably. If people are listening right now that are really wanting to know, like, what are they doing? I would spend 5 minutes and go. Let's go down that rabbit hole of how they're sitting, staring at them. They've made a decision and they get it on, and then
it's done.
And then they go like, how far does he have to travel for the next one? Right now, not very far.
Yeah, I would say not very far.
Same brush pile.
Yeah. He rolls over.
Yeah, he's like, hey.
Yeah.
Oh, and he just goes to the next one.
Hey.
How you doing?
Yeah, not real hard. Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's happening. I think that's what people need to know.
And that's why I think hunting pinch points on the downwind side of a doe bedding area, that stacks your odds the most, because then you're not just hunting a pinch point. Like you're hunting a buck that's cruising, you're hunting a buck that's chasing. Both. You know what I mean? Because
do we all agree that they are more powerful than? I hate when people go like, well, just get on the downwind side of a bedding area and sit there. When we see them walking, when we see them looking, actively searching, nose down, whatever, they're stoned out of their mind on doe. Like they just are. And it's like, doesn't always go downwind of that thicket. He knows where those trails are, and he's cutting across all of those trails back and forth, and sometimes with the wind and sometimes without the wind. Tonight was without the wind for him, for one of the bucks I saw today. Like, but he would go downwind and then cut across for 50 yards and then come back on and then work his way down.
Yeah.
Just like all of us, they'll take a shortcut. They'll know that if they go another 300 yards with the wind at their back and then cut sideways, that he can quick evaluate and then get back on it. It's not like everything that you've read forever.
No.
It's like just go downwind of a bedding area.
See, I think, like you said, when they're going nuts and they're looking, you'll see them just running around with the wind at their back and this and that, because they can't. It's physically impossible for I mean,
can't always
as
keep
a
it across their
human,
face.
if you went out there and tried to do that as a human,
No.
Well, that's the argument against calling, right? Because you give them a focal point to now be downwind of. They can't be downwind of all things at all times.
But, and especially like on farms we develop and stuff, when you choose a tree relative to a perfect terrain bedding south facing point or whatever, and then you cut that and you make a thicket that might only be 1/8 of an acre. When he can't use his eyes to hunt that, probability when he does come with the wind at his back to get here to check this doe bedding area, probability says he's not going to walk by that thicket on the side that he can't smell. Even a treetop. If there's a treetop, like I did a reel or something the other day talking about like reading this area and why I chose this tree for the stand. There was a treetop that funneled, but also deer bed and treetops. And if I'm a buck and I'm not going to go on the upwind side, most likely, and look in there and stuff, I'm just going to
cruise down.
So it's just like little subtle things that it doesn't always work out. Nothing in deer hunt. I always say that everything in deer hunting works, just not all the time. Every strategy works.
60% of the time it works every single time.
Yeah. But when you start stacking like those odds and thinking like a deer, and you're in a pinch point and you're on when you can start building those spots, it gets really powerful.
Yeah.
And especially like we have a logging division, and everybody wants to they just want to cut everything and make it thick. But really it's more powerful when you select cut and then you strategically cut pockets, and then it's almost like food plots. Instead of food plots are scent concentrators. Well, when you can make these bedding areas, I don't call them like bedrooms or buck bed. It's just little thickets that happen to be designed in a spot that a deer wants to bed anyway. Usually there's beds there because it's a terrain spot a deer wants, and you've got a tree relative to decent access and this and that.
And then you have the equipment though, dude.
And then you put a water hole in there, and that concentrates scent on the downwind side as well. Yeah, but you've
got a lot of brushes. We were talking about this the other day.
We log for people though, and we do all that stuff for people.
But I mean, like your lease that you killed this deer on, you had a spot that you were going to go to.
Yeah,
but it was just a natural.
We're not pressing on that
corridor.
Well, we were talking before, to give context. We were talking before, like consulting, setting up personal farms. All of us, the three of us had a conversation about like what you do and then like what I do, and then I have no equipment rather than a tractor, right? So I'm taking what the landscape gives me, even on my farm and y'all's farm, and we just go and do the best we can. You are so fortunate, and it's what you specialize in at Whitetail Group, to go move those treetops. We because we don't really do it. You don't have skiddy, do you? You don't. No. We don't have that, right? So if you were going to tell us something, and we were going to talk whitetails, I want to come with you this spring, or even this winter. Now that you're tagged out or whatever, I want to go see some of the stuff that you're doing with that, because I'm like more of a purist. Like no fences, maybe a little couple areas of hinge cutting, but more just to tuck them up against it on these big ridges I got. But I want to know more. Don't you want to know more about like what he does with placing that stuff and then making these little, you talk about how they can't get behind you and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and that's when it's, when somebody hires us to do a consult and they want to make the farm the best it can be, well, we're going to make it the best it can be, and it's going to be good. But
you're pulling the trees, but you're taking the tops rather than a regular logger.
We don't do a ton of it. And people actually,
ton of what? Hold on.
A ton of moving the tops.
Okay.
Because, and it's one of the first things I tell people when we show up to do, to talk about doing a logging project. Everybody sees our videos, and they see that in the videos because it's something that we put on the videos. The thing is about that, a lot of the massive like walls of brush and stuff, like that comes from an excavating project
Yeah.
because you're excavating a food plot or whatever, and then you
Pick it up, move it,
Yes.
windrow it.
The logging thing, you got to picture that tree top is like a gigantic wrecking ball.
Mm-hmm.
You go pulling a few of them things through the woods, and it's
Mhm.
going to literally look like a bomb went off. What happens with that is if we have a spot when we're marking the timber, and it's like, hey, you got this really good tree right here, I'll ribbon it to make sure nobody cuts it. And you have a 50-yard gap, and there's marketable trees right here that we're going to cut. So they're already here. We're going to drop this tree and this tree and this tree, and we're going to put these tops there. And then some of them we might move at 20 yards or 30 yards. We can move them within an area,
Mm-hmm.
but we can't go. We don't
pick 'em up.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't go. We can't go nuts with dragging the treetops. Now with the excavating stuff, like one of our first big projects was at Cass County Farm. I mean, dude, we built some. It was the greatest deer hunting farm. I mean, it was insane. So, but nowadays, I mean, it's like that series. If you go back and watch the fully developed series, you'll see I was literally trying to go as nuts as possible. I spent more time this summer in an 8-acre field.
But that's how we got to know who you were, because you went as nuts in the beginning as that. But I think that's what all of us go, like, moves treetops around and cuts down trees and does all this extreme shit. And he's got a big cross out there with these whirly-gigger ropes coming out, and deer go play with them. And like, you went over the top. And so that's what we all see you.
And so, and one thing I like I said earlier, most of my big deer have been killed like tonight. It's on a lot of my farms. Like, we've got a list of people that want us to find them farms and design them farms and develop them farms. A lot of times, most of the time when we find a farm, especially the last several years when the market's so hot, when we get a farm, we already have people that want that farm. And so they get involved right from the get-go on, like it might be somebody in Iowa that's only late muzzleloader hunting. So then we'll tailor it to them. We'll design it for late muzzleloader hunting. And so we'll kind of design it or tailor it to the people. So I don't get to hunt like crazy. I don't get to hunt a lot of these farms that are most of the time farms that are project farms of mine. I get them late summer or even in the fall or in the middle of the season. I just closed on one in Schuyler, and there's nothing done to them. My lease that I just killed this deer on last night, I killed a 201, a 190, a 172 on my lease that I can't do anything on. And most of, me and my good friend managed his 700 acres, his family's farm for years, shot several big ones there. But that was still early on. We weren't doing a bunch of crazy stuff.
Well, I think that's what people need to know.
Yeah.
That you're not doing all the crazy stuff.
But and whether it's the crazy stuff or just food plots or whatever, anybody can go do any of it. It's the strategy.
Sure.
Is 99%, even a food plot.
And who you fit in with.
97% of food plot success is the strategy. It's where it is. It's your access.
Location,
it's the shape,
why, what are you doing?
It's the two food sources. It's the eliminating scrape brand. It's the strategy behind it. It's not. So all this stuff, everything begins with thinking like a deer, thinking, how can I hunt this farm without him knowing, and reverse engineering.
The greatest thing Mark Drury ever said was pick the tree first.
Yeah.
That's where it all started, like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Is anybody saying anything cool in there? Do we need to answer questions?
I was going to ask people because
if not, Jared's going to fall asleep.
We were just kind of doing this. I mean, the cool thing about the Hunt Companion one, especially when we do these live things, is that people will ask questions. So I'm sure a lot of people are just listening to things. So if you guys got questions, whether it's related to what we were just talking about or anything, you guys can just type them here in the chat. Instagram, my eyes aren't good enough to see anything that you're writing over there.
I don't know how you can read that.
Or Sean. I assume that's John at Leatherwood. John said that somebody just needs to make a full moon and red moon cheat sheet basically for us. That seems pretty smart, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or is that the Red Moon app?
I think it is the Moon Guide. I'm pretty convinced it's similar.
Yeah.
You can Google it.
We would just need it from September
You can
to
Google
January though, right?
The overhead underfoot charts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's online.
Like for me, I'm just real simple. Find the 3 full moons.
Yeah, when's the full moon?
Yeah.
Take off the 2 days before, the day of, and the day before.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, for me, if you go to our Discord, I post on there all the time about.
So,
the
Bobby,
moon.
you can promote that. How do you? What's
so
the Discord?
Discord is like. So I do a lot of stock market trading stuff, and Discord is there's a lot of traders that use the platform and gamers. It was originally a platform for gamers, and I'm like, I followed some trader stuff in there, and I'm like, why doesn't hunting? This is insane that a hunting company doesn't use this. So I started it. It's been awesome. It's like a giant community. It feels like a giant, the whitetail group. It feels like a fraternity of
Well,
people,
your
and they're
goal's
all
been the group.
Yeah.
and they're helping
And
each other.
It's type, right? Like it's like a
tight,
forum.
but there's also video. So like I can go on a blood trail live. I have a blood trail room. You just press it, and instantly there'd be 50 people in there helping people make decisions. Or there's an archery shop video room that you can go in there and people can help each other. It's all people helping each other. There's all categories of there's just tons of categories in there so that the conversations are organized.
Where can people get the link?
So if you go to the whitetailgroup.com and then scroll down to Discord and click that, it'll bring you to the app, and then you just make a username and come in there. And it's been super cool. Everybody loves it. And then I got like a room. It's called Age and Score the Deer, because everybody wants help with that. And so people all day long are posting deer in there, and other people are helping them try and figure out how old it is. And it's just a big thing of people helping each other. It's crazy. Like some guy helped me. I was like, what can I spray on this smart weed? And he's like, spray IMOX. And IMOX, probably everybody knows what IMOX is. I didn't know what it's like, a pond weed.
Yeah.
And they're like, on my clover, I spray like an aquatic vegetate. And they're like, yeah, spray that on there. And I'm like, sweet, thanks, man. So, I mean, I've learned a bunch of stuff on there too.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Jam.
Cool.
6 ounces
Chris
the
already knew
acre.
about
Hey,
it.
told you about it.
Really?
It's the jam, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
See?
but it's expensive as balls. Hey, who do you think had better hair? You when you had long hair, or Bobby's?
No, I didn't even get to do the mullet.
Let me see your fronts.
This is fresh.
This is looking pretty good.
This is fresh out of deer killing mode right here.
What's the front looking like?
It's just all there.
Are you losing any yet?
No.
Jared's was fading.
Mine
pretty
was
hard.
coming back. Yes, I got that hairline right here. The back was wicked. I had some real nice party in the back. But
I remember.
Not enough business in the front.
Not enough business in the front.
I remember.
I had some beautiful hair, man.
I
did.
I remember hating you because of your
ladies used
beautiful
to
hair.
stop me at the mall when I was like in my preteens
Why'd you cut it?
because I was losing it in the front. I was insecure about it. Yeah, I felt like I could go to the gym and like take my hat off. I was like, I look like a freak. I got like a skullet going on.
It was
That's what I
getting
felt
pretty
like,
rough.
yeah.
All right, let's see what we got here. Okay. Did we miss anything? Yeah. So Bobby's here because he kills big bucks. He killed. You obviously didn't put a tape on it, but we're thinking 70s.
Yeah, probably both of them were right around the same deal, 173-ish.
Yeah.
Which goes back to the conversation from Thursday's podcast, which was 174 is the number. That 170 to 174. To break 174 seems tough.
Yeah, especially
That was the number, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
especially on typical.
Yeah, on typicals. So yeah, Bobby killed one tonight. It was out there. We just jumped in. I am using a Hoyt recurve this week. I'm using a recurve this week.
It's awesome.
It's kind of fun.
Wait, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
I mean, I haven't had a deer and bow range, period. But
The way I
Yeah.
black out, that'd be a bad company. Bad.
What is it? What's this blackout like?
I don't know. So
Like, are you just like that's an easy way to say it? Like you're not actually black.
bow hunting is something that everybody understands because you're bow hunters, but you try and explain to somebody that's not a hunter. It's like, 10, 12 years ago, I got hooked up with some friends of mine that are really good archers.
Not close.
I thought
No,
I caught it.
that thing was long gone.
That was
Sorry, bud.
And so anyway,
You thought you got it.
I relearned how to shoot the right way, and got to be pretty good at it. But then, you get so busy doing all this stuff we do, and I just didn't practice for years. I just didn't practice, and the target panic was real. Well, this last year, I built a barn. I built a place to shoot indoors in a shop and everything. I've shot more this year than I have in 10 years, and shooting so good, but nothing prepares you
Yeah.
for
The moment.
it's just so many things.
No.
It's the rush shots when you learn to shoot correctly.
You have
with
to
back
chain
tension
a cougar,
and you're rushed. Is
just
bad.
put a cougar in a car, Bobby.
Yeah.
Learn how to drive.
Yeah.
Kilo of a Colombian Bam Bam. What are you gonna do, son?
What do you do? You better drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, dude, I made a bad shot on this buck.
There's
Here.
a
I
reason
don't know
he
if you know.
asked that question.
yeah.
That's a reason.
Well,
he asked the
no,
question.
I asked because I'm curious, like, because everybody goes through like a different thought process.
It just is like
It's
I'm
not-
on them.
It's not target
bow goes
panic,
off.
right?
It's
Or is
kinda
it?
like a target panic? It's more like a rushed like kill them. Like it is. It's like a
panic. Like
it's
I'm gonna miss
basically
the
like
opportunity.
it's the ultimate. Your brain telling the bow
Yeah.
to shoot instead of the bow going
So
off.
that mine was that for this. Like I don't describe it as like blacking out. It was like, and there was a series of events that he did and how I interpreted them that led to my brain being like,
shoot.
and you described it well last night. Pin on Brown,
Yeah.
get an arrow in him, but it's effectively like I just melted. Like
Because he watches the video now and he's like, "This thing didn't have a
Yeah.
clue I was in the world." And he's like,
I thought he saw me.
Right then, when he hit that branch, he goes, "He seen me."
I thought he saw me.
He was in the zone.
was at
He didn't see
He was
nothing.
at a scrape at 20 yards, and he was either going to go down this trail and jump the fence off the property line. I was fairly close to the property line. Or he could have just, kept walking his edge right in front of me 20 yards. You know what I mean? Like, and so I decided that because he had that choice, I better draw while he's preoccupied. He's facing me, but his head's in the scrape. And so I start coming to quarter draw, and he just stops. Like he was in there for just a second, and then he just stops, and he kind of like looks out here. And I thought it was up, and like,
You know how they do? They zone out.
Mm-hmm.
They just go.
and you can see my fletchings in the thing, just like
rattle,
just like
because you're holding like quarter
losing
draw.
my shit is what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing a quarter draw with 80 pounds, and he just flicks his tail or whatever, and then just turns and starts walking broads, like not a care in the world, like totally cool. And at that point, I had thought it was over already, so I get it back, and in my mind, I had the coherence to think like I don't want to stop him because I think he already might have
Right.
known so I didn't. So I put it on Brown and pulled the
You were
trigger.
in the peep though, right? Like
Oh yeah.
that's what happens sometimes with people. They don't even peep.
look.
Oh yeah. I was in
That's
the
what
peep.
Cody was saying, right? He's like,
Cody didn't even have
No,
a peep.
fortunately, I practiced
Like,
enough that my
Jesus.
muscle memory for getting my anchor point is really good. So like
Right.
generally it works out. And normally I've got the wherewithal to like, okay, slow it down. But this is a freaking giant deer, and I was in Iowa. Like just the anxiety of being out of state and like having it a 6-year
tight,
tag and stuff.
too.
It was a lot of pressure.
he was
I mean, this isn't the
close.
same target panic that you recovered
No,
from.
no. There was
before.
no target panic. on it.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
over.
trying to get. Yeah, that's over.
Yeah, this was like it was just melting. Like get an arrow in it. It was a similar situation to that tight racked one that I shot in Ohio a
Yeah.
couple years ago. It was kind of like when I decided last minute, like when he's at 20 yards trotting in, I was like, oh, that's a shooter.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it happened.
I'm gonna
so
play
fast,
Dr. Phil for a little bit with you. I wonder if some of that, like when he comes through and it's like, oh, gotta kill. It's like, look at the amount of effort and mindset that you have.
Yeah.
So when that moment comes, which is this much, when you've done this much, you're like, I got to do it now, or
Yeah.
it's over.
I also have this thought, and it's not really a thought, it's a fact. When you get a big mature deer in bow range, every second that goes by, and I mean
Absolutely.
every second
Yeah.
is odds stacking that something dumb is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I almost.
I
So
feel that
I
way
am
too.
in a hurry.
I'd almost rather. Be
I'll take a quartering 2 shot.
Yep.
I don't know if that's right. I'm still
Every
on
second.
everyone. I'm trying to, because he's got, like you said again last night, I'm like, he's going to smell me. You know,
Yeah.
he's going to smell like every second that goes past. I'm like, this is bad. He
That's
needs to be
why
dead now.
I
like,
want him
sooner.
to come in and be like, boom, here he is, cruising, boom, shot, versus like I'm watching him from 150 yards coming in. That's too long.
Yeah.
It's, that's where most people can't keep it together. You can't blame them, for a lot of people. But I mean, like there's really, really, really good, there's really, really good bow shot people. You put them on like a 3D range and it's like kick everybody's ass. Put them in a stand with a big buck coming
With a
in.
heartbeat. Yeah.
And then the opposite, there's guys that shoot technically not right and they hardly shoot at all.
They
And
kill
sometimes
everything.
I wonder if it's almost better because they've trained to punch the trigger.
Yeah.
They've trained for their brain to tell them to make the bow go off.
Yeah.
You know,
That's Cody and Andre.
Uh,
Those guys don't shoot
I
at
was
all.
in the tree thinking about everything that we visited about last night.
You
Number
remember
one,
it all?
yeah, oh yeah. Number one, we need to tell Bobby my secret. So my secret is Davy Crockett grinning down a bear. I don't really think he actually grinned it down, right? But I do know that that's how he conquered fear in that story. When they're coming in, and the moment they close, you're like, this bitch isn't getting out of here with that arrow. That minute, I smile. The biggest smile for me, and I go, he's not getting out of here. And it calms all nerves that I got. And that's what I was telling him last night.
Yeah.
I was also in the tree going, I know you love your thumb and your little releases and all that. I think some of the going right back to where you were going, dude, that's why I have that short and sweet that I've shot millions of fish with and everything. I can rip it back, come to anchor, and kill it. Where I don't.
Oh, me too.
I went through years where I, shot for elite, had a million different Scots, and I found myself taking way too much time making sure everything was perfect. Now I was lights
You can
out.
see that video where I shot. There's no time delay.
No.
When I came to full draw,
Oh yeah.
it had I don't feel like I lost that
No.
control, but it did help me get rid. That target panic is bad. You don't want that.
No.
I missed deer because of target panic alone, with no buck fever.
And I was told that
and
Levi told me that you had to get big pins to overcome target panic. Get a recurve or a longbow,
Go instinctive.
and then go really big, like pins this size, like as cover the whole target. And they stopped aiming micro.
Mhm.
And I think that's a lot of
that
people's.
helps.
I think when a situation gets you fired up too, because it's a lot going versus like late season, a deer comes out and he's out there feeding.
Mhm.
Because I've had times before where I'm just like in a tranquil state and can make a good shot,
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, you shot that deer at what, 40 yards?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not an easy shot on a whitetail.
yeah, and I mean,
Well, the timber trips me out. Me sitting in the timber on this spot I'm trying to kill right now. When these deer walk through and you're trying to pick spots and holes,
Yeah.
that's a lot of anxiety.
I mean, I freaked out on that deer, and I'm pretty composed. I'm one of the
'cause
guys
he was
who-
underneath you like twice.
He was underneath me, and I had set up for this shot. And at the last moment, he cut back out, and I had to do the 180 in the tree stand, come to full draw, find a hole at 12 yards through brush, and shoot him, or he was going to jump the barbed wire and be out of my life.
Well, I have that confidence, like what you're saying. Like you laugh. I think I literally said out loud. I don't have it on the footage, so maybe I did, but it was so loud in my brain. I was like, I'm gonna freaking kill this thing.
I've had time.
You had your.
I think I said it out loud. I was like, he's done. Because then I've said it on the podcast before too. I was like, because I figured it out. And things can always go wrong. But I was like, I've killed enough of them. I'm like, I know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, he's done. He's toast. He's gonna die.
You took
when something went wrong,
deep breath before he was even in frame. It was very clear.
Yeah, you hear a big
like which, to be honest, dude, that's
good.
That's really good. Most people were already like hyperventilating type stuff. You
made the decision. It was just
Well, when it went like that real quick, and I thought he saw me, I was like, oh no, like that was the worst thing that could have happened. And then I kind of scrambled to make it happen afterwards, and I got it done. But I mean, I got lucky. Did I tell you about what happened with this deer? I hit him way back. I hit him back. Like my initial impression was guts, and it was high. And it's a giant deer. Like look at it was a huge deer. And so I made this bad shot. And initially I'm like, guts is my thought. But also I'm like dead deer.
Right.
But also I'm like property line close.
Yeah.
And so it was the most confusing thing in the world
First time you've ever been on that property,
to see this giant buck trot 20 yards and stop. He had no idea what happened. And he just stopped and like flicked his tail. I knocked another arrow immediately. And I was like, I'm going to get another arrow in this thing. And he stood there for like, I don't know, 5 or 10 seconds. And I'm waiting for him to step out from behind this giant tree. and he just falls over stone dead.
Legs out.
And I'm like completely confused because I'm like, it was a bad shot. I knew it was a bad shot. I said right where it hit. And I'm like, is he dead? And I could lean way out to the left and I could just see hoof. I could lean way to the right and I could just see tail. It's a giant tree. I tried to get in at first. It was like 15 foot around. It was a tree I wanted to be in. And I'm like, is he bedded there? Like, is his head up?
If he's napping or he's
could see his head. I couldn't know if he just bedded down. So for 45 minutes, I'm like quiet on the phone, calling Jeremy,
I thought like if you gut shot him, he doesn't feel good. I thought he just bedded down, just went. But then you're like, I see his hoof like stretched out, and I'm like
laying on the side hoof. I'm like hoof out. I'm like,
yeah, that doesn't sound like he's just bedded. Like he died like within 30 seconds of the shot, 45 seconds.
Wow, bad artery is bad deal.
Yeah, it's
It was a
crazy. When you
bad
hit
deal.
the right spot, boy. Sometimes
it just lights out.
And then other times you think you hit them good. And
somebody asked what release you're using.
it's a Carter Insatiable.
A lot of Carter releases.
So
Never shot one.
choice.
Yep.
Never
Who
shot
else,
a Carter.
who else did we just talk to that's shooting a Carter? A boat?
Yeah, somebody.
I'll tell you
Belmar?
one of the most badass things I ever saw. My buddy, his name's Justin Lee. He's a fishing. He owns a charter operation in Panama City, and he has a show on Discovery Channel called Chasing the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool guy. And he was shooting bad, had target panic, all this stuff, and went through the whole mental thing. I'm going to learn to shoot correct with back tension and all this stuff. Well, anyway, he came up to my house last year, and I brought him out, and we were hunting late season standing corn. And I'm sitting in this tree behind him, like in his elbow, and this deer comes out, and the cornfield's like a hill, so this deer is like even with us, and it's up there, like it gets to like 65 yards, and we both think that's as close as he can get. And he's like, well, and all he talks about is the shooting and the release and stuff. Loves it. Just shoots and shoots and shoots. He's a really good shooter. So he's like, well, let me just pull back and see what it looks like. He's shooting a Exodus fixed blades. And he pulls back. He goes, let me just see how it feels. And he pulls back, and I'm videoing it on my phone. And all of a sudden I hear he's shooting I think it was maybe the Ultra View.
Mm-hmm.
Full back tension release. And he's like, I'm just going to see how it feels. And all of a sudden I hear click, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm like trying to get out of his elbow.
He's going.
His elbow is about to go. And it just goes boom. His elbow comes back and the arrow goes up. And I'm immediately thinking he and there's like, I'm trying to get on the binoculars, and he starts hitting me. He's like, I smoked him. I'm like, what? There's no way. I'm looking at him. He's like, he's bleeding. I can tell he's going down. I'm like, dude, I can't. You gotta stop hitting me. I can't see. He's about to leave the field, and you're hitting me. I gotta be able to see him. And all of a sudden, he stops hitting me, and I get him, and the deer just does a backflip. I'm like, oh my god, that was so cool.
Just
like to see somebody that's
him.
practiced so much and shoots the real deal, and to see him just, I mean, it was freaking. I mean, lasered him. Just lasered, and it was like 65 yards.
Do you know how big of balls it takes to shoot a back tension while you're hunting?
Oh,
yeah. I don't have them.
I can shoot, man, but I'm not doing it.
But this
I'm
dude-
using the biggest, stupidest thing that you can.
Yeah, me too.
Is your
Foolproof.
Carter is a
No, it's
thumb?
a thumb
Yeah.
button. It's a button, but this wasn't a button. This was a true. But
Yeah,
he's kind of like the old Brackett shooting. I mean, he's
Everything.
he's in Florida shooting pigs, and so he's like just practicing,
Just
and
killing,
shooting,
just
and
killing,
shooting,
just killing.
and shooting. And it was just so cool to watch, to hear that thing click and know he was shooting it the right way on the biggest deer of his life. He's from Florida, and it's a 160-inch mature deer. When I heard that thing click, I'm like, oh boy! And
It's
the bow
about
went
ready to
off.
go off.
And
yeah.
I'm thinking, there's no way he hit that thing. I'm trying.
Torched.
I'm like,
It's a poke, man.
but again, people might be like, that's too far to be shooting. But you've practiced that much. You're in a snowy covered
Yeah.
cornfield with a deer in standing corn
Yeah.
that's been kind of decimated, so it's open enough to shoot the deer.
Well, it
But
doesn't matter.
He feels secure. The snow is dampening. There's an airport. There's literally an airplane in the pattern.
Yeah. It's just.
It's like everything came together to be like, yeah, I can make this shot because I've done it
Mhm.
1,000 times.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, like, I think people need to understand, like, it's your decision to shoot that thing at 5 yards or 500.
Mm-hmm.
That's your responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's bad. I mean, like that. I mean, a dude who's confident enough and kills a whitetail at 65 yards like that's freaking awesome.
Yep.
I also love to kill him at 5 yards
Yeah, the
because
one I-
it's like in my wheelhouse. Like, yeah, you had no idea I was there, death from above type of thing.
Yeah, Bobby, I shot mine from here to the computer.
That's where I like them.
Mm-hmm.
I like them.
But when he come around the tree, his head come up, and all I had was like this shoulder, and I put it in front of the shoulder, down into the heart, and with 55 pounds,
Yeah.
Smoked him.
smoked him, dude. I was so pumped.
Yeah, it's
It was
freaking
better
awesome.
than a 180-inch deer. First one in what did I say?
8
years.
8 years
With a
with a compound.
My shoulder's so bad.
Dang.
It was butter.
Huh?
It was like butter. You,
Dude, it was like butter.
yeah,
I mean, I didn't even think about my shoulder.
no,
Just ripped it
straight back.
It was fun.
Torched.
It feels good.
But
to
this is
smoke
a
one.
great deer.
Yeah,
I don't know. Did everybody see this sucker?
yeah, we did. I don't know. When did we have that on? Did we have it on?
No.
We have it.
No.
We did the emergency hunt
Jeremy's.
companion after I killed it.
Oh yeah, no, we
No, we didn't. Yeah, we didn't bring the skull cap on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we did some Instagram stuff, but
yeah, no, that's it. Yeah,
He's awesome.
Hold him up there,
He's awesome.
everybody see.
we're baller.
Iowa balling.
What county were you guys on?
Taylor.
Secret county.
No, Taylor.
I was in Decatur.
Mm-hmm.
I got 3 points.
I love how much
need 3
Iowa
more.
changes across the state.
Oh yeah,
I'll go shoot one
we
with
really
Iowa.
like
I know
that
guys that
area.
didn't draw zone 4 with 5 points.
Just
this
felt
year.
like there was deer habitat everywhere.
Yeah.
Like obviously
Like
it's
deer,
different.
deer space. It was just expansive.
Yeah,
you know,
like this
compared
is
to-
like
we're coming from Ohio.
well, but even if you drive from like here to our farm, it's like just giant, especially now with all the crops come down, just vacant fields,
Right.
right? But you go out there, it's just brushy and
Yeah.
brushy
Yeah.
and brushy and brushy. Like
Remember we were
I-
talking about how the glaciers came and they melted, and
Yeah.
then Illinois is the ditches, and then Iowa's the opposite. which
Yeah.
why the conditions are so much.
I like
better.
that area of Iowa right there because it's kind of like western and eastern kind of meet, and it feels like a blend of Kansas and the
it does.
Midwest.
It absolutely. There's like some of those cedar pockets
Yeah.
and stuff. I felt like I'm like this.
We
is
had
like
we had
Kansas.
a farm in Clark County last year that had a freaking 200 on it. I didn't have a tag.
Mhm.
He was big.
Yeah, it was cool, man. It was just I mean, we had spent some time out there shed hunting and doing stuff, but I mean it was you have to verify your thing again.
Verify. Bobby, what do you think about buying deer?
Fine.
Are we off there?
No, we'll be on in a second as soon as Jared types the number in or whatever it's asking for.
Hello, Instagram.
Didn't give me the one that time.
Yeah, they're cranking. I don't know how many people are on there.
Can you tell how many people are on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can.
You guys live in Pennsylvania though, right?
We do.
You just where in Ohio do you hunt?
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
wow, we're only we had a lot of people. Well, it's late, I guess. It's 11:30 there. We had 450 on that at one point in time.
I don't know, Jeremy. It's not sending me the thing.
What's it say?
It's not sending me. It's supposed to send me the code or whatever.
It didn't come up.
It's weird.
Can you guys still see us? You're all good. It's fine. Okay. I don't know. Still recording.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how to.
It doesn't matter. We
when
don't
it's
need that
done
thing.
or- Okay.
What's the meaning to life, Bobby?
The meaning to life.
Yeah. You're a young guy. How old are you?
I think I'm 38.
You think?
I don't know. We're just gonna have to end it afterwards, I guess.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll
How
be
old
good.
are you? How old are you?
31.
38, you think?
I'm
Jeremy,
about
you're 40?
I'm 40. Yeah.
I'm old as balls.
Bobby, well, everybody wants to know what we're all wearing for camo. Are you wearing Sitka this year? Thinking that you're in Sitka right now?
Yeah, this is old school. This is the original.
The
Remember?
OG.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a funny story. So like when they first came out with their whitetail line, I was still playing music and I was playing at the QDMA National Convention
Oh, yeah.
in Athens, Georgia.
Yeah.
And I was young. I was like I don't even know how old I was, and I was selling CDs.
You don't even know how old you are now.
I was selling CDs.
He blacked out. Give him a second.
Hold on a second.
I was selling CDs out of a Sitka backpack, and somebody introduced me to the Sitka guys, and they're like, "Oh, this is Bobby, and he's shot some big deer and whatever." And they're like, "Oh, and you're a singer," and they're like, "Oh," and their original thing, they had this like whitetail athlete
I
program.
think I remember
And
that.
so I
yeah.
was on there. I was on that thing, the whitetail athlete thing. This was like so
Okay.
long ago that
Did they buy a CD?
I think they did. I think it was David Brinker, and
I didn't
then
get anything,
Dennis Zuck, and those guys were all really,
Oh, yeah.
really good to me and stuff. So I've always loved it. But a lot of times, to be honest with you, like I hunted in these Stone Glacier pants, and
Yeah. We've been wearing a lot of solids on stuff. What are you wearing,
Yeah.
Chris?
I got a hodgepodge of everything for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Tonight I was in. I like Bass Pro.
Yeah.
I like
Like the
I
old
like the
school.
Morrises.
Yeah.
No, what's that? What is
Redhead?
it? Stratus? The Stratus stuff? It's
Mhm.
like I'm a quiet freak.
Mm-hmm.
So anything I can find with that micro fleece.
Mhm.
Oh, this is it.
That's
This
the
is
old
some-
Cabela's Instinct.
Yeah, this
right?
is the
That was Cabela's, wasn't it?
yeah, Cabela's
Well, which is Bass Pro now.
Instinct, right?
Mhm.
yeah, my scent free
Yep.
game is horrible. I pay
Yeah.
absolutely zero.
I haven't washed my
attention.
clothes in 5 years.
Yeah, I just
Ever.
I
Are
don't.
you serious?
Ever. It's the number one thing that all my crew around me goes, yeah, I've never seen him wash his clothes.
It just.
So what do you do with
it's-
them?
I used regular shampoo right before I went out.
Yeah.
Just smelling like a eucalyptus tree.
Um,
I
actually,
can't remember the last time I washed my boots.
Yeah, I actually, I had this cough for a long time, and my wife got me real eucalyptus. Speaking of
Yep.
it, and she hung it in the shower for the steam. So I've literally been taking showers in the real eucalyptus.
We have
Okay.
no scent control game
None. It's bad.
whatsoever. But it goes back to the way we hunt. You talked about it all the time. Stay out.
Yeah,
We
you guys
stay
are
out.
very conservative in your approach.
Well,
to,
we got all day. We got
yeah.
all year. We're not really hunting anywhere else.
Yeah. I also know that, I have been that guy for years, and it doesn't make it. I still get winded, and I know there's
Yeah, you
situations.
can't beat their nose.
I know there's situations where, but the amount of time that it takes me to do that,
That's right.
there's better things that I can do
The
to
juice
stack
worth the
my
squeeze.
odds than
Yeah.
the type of scent stuff I think is big is like, it's not blowing up your farm it from the stand.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and also the e-bike thing has just been huge.
I think the electric
Huge.
stuff, like I have that Polaris Kinetic, and just number one, it's been a tank, but two is just like no fumes.
Is that the electric?
Yeah, no
Dude?
fumes, no. Dude, it
It's
is
my
awesome.
dream. It's my dream to
expensive.
have one.
It's expensive.
I
But-
just rode in one of Ernie's and I was like, I got to drive
They are
this.
freaking unreal.
Because I
it's-
had the original golf cart battery.
yeah, the old EV one.
Yeah, it almost burned down my house. I plugged it in one night. I left to go to dinner, and my neighbor saw it catch on fire. Because
Holy
you would
shit.
just plug it in, right? I
Yeah,
hunt it
yeah.
every day. I
Yeah.
just plugged it in, left.
Because that the old acid battery.
Yep.
Mhm.
Almost burned it down.
Oh,
Ruined my trailer,
wow.
burned the whole thing down.
Wow.
Yep.
that's crazy.
Players hooked me up with it back in the day. The first one I had was Unbelievable's Bulletproof. The second one I had was a lemon and it like burned the whole thing down. But I have been slobbering over the kinetics.
They're ridiculous. Yeah, I mean it's got the torque and everything that you need to just do like farm work.
Yeah, you could
So
pull,
like
you
my
could pull a house
sprayer,
down.
you could do whatever you wanted to. In fact, when Jared and I were going, not that we tried it, but when we were going to hunt this morning, I'm like, damn, dude, this speedometer goes to 140,
Oh my god.
140 miles an hour on the
Like,
speedometer.
You won't do it.
You won't do it. Don't give it to Speed Demon over
I
there.
know. I asked him to slow down once today. He was driving me back.
He's
We
like,
were-
hey, don't do that.
I'm like in my head. I'm like, he knows there's a curve coming up, right? He knows there's a curve coming
Do
up.
you know this guy very much? Like you guys just met tonight.
Yeah.
He's an animal. He doesn't feel pain. He's missing fingers. He's got his face blasted out. He doesn't even care.
My wedding ring got caught on a tree stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first year, 8 years ago, my first year of marriage. Do you remember those Hawk traction sticks that had the little peaks and valleys? I was hanging.
He's an animal, bro.
I hung the first one, hung the second one. I was climbing down and I kind of just like leapt off and I had a tungsten ring. And I got caught under there. And yeah.
Ever since he was a little kid, like he was a dirt bike,
Yeah.
like 900 miles an hour dirt bike. blast his face.
You used to ride dirt bikes, didn't you?
No,
Weren't we talking
dude,
about
I'm like all my friends are probably watching, like laughing because I drive slow. Like I'm Mr. Safe.
He's an
I
old
do
man.
too. I do now.
Oh, dude,
I've slowed it way down, like on the machines. and
Bobby's like
stuff.
an old man.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to know how me and Bobby met?
The music, probably selling CDs out of my backpack.
Oh no. I was telling the story last night. Thursday nights, you would play the campground at Jurassic, and you'd even have my ass up there to sing with you.
Jurassic.
That was where we met,
Where was that?
Cambridge, Ohio.
Yep.
It's the greatest party in the world.
Jurassic Classic.
I think I opened for somebody. Oh my.
No,
Lord.
you would always play the campground party every Thursday. Every Thursday. Did you black out again?
Yeah,
Oh
because
my-
Every Thursday.
God, no, I'm in shock.
Oh yeah, he's an animal.
the old degloving incident.
Yeah.
Look at his dad's face in the background.
Whoa.
What's
I
your,
noticed
what's your next prediction?
we both now have
Wait.
we both have rubber ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we
And
all
I
have our
don't.
own.
Can I show this?
And
to
I
people?
don't wear one.
Yeah, sure.
I think
if
you
anybody,
should. It's a
yeah,
safety.
If anybody's queasy here,
It's
just
a
don't
safety.
look at this.
Yeah,
but
don't look.
Here's my
Holy.
finger.
Look away.
It's a safety concern. That's why I brought it up.
It looks better. It's just that.
Oh, MG.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
That's the picture
Yeah.
there.
He's an animal.
Kind of. It was kind of a fun question. This was kind of a fun one. They said if we had to put together, because it's election time for me, we had to put together a presidential candidate from the hunting community. Who would those people be?
Well, I'm not political at all. I'm
Yeah.
out.
Nobody, because everybody's going to be hunting.
I had a
all of
vision.
October, November.
I had a vision.
It'd be
One
like if
second,
it was
Bobby
like
had a
if it was
vision.
like
Hold on. Bobby
I had a vision
you mean
for like
of the
2
hunting
years.
yeah, of the hunting community.
Yeah, I had a vision for like 2 years that Trump was going to win and I was going to shoot a booner the same day. I was manifesting it. I couldn't believe it didn't happen.
Wow, maybe it was me you were dreaming about.
He did. He did.
That was a good day.
That was that
Same
day.
day.
November 5th.
Yeah. They
That was a good
Interesting.
day.
They
you
did
had
like-
a vision?
I was trying to manifest it, I think.
Yeah.
I'll take what happened.
Yeah,
Oh,
hey,
we burned it down
burned
that
it
night.
down. And I
Whoa.
watched them.
that was a late one.
I was a consumer that night. I had like my
We
phone
also were
out.
consuming that night.
Yeah. my favorite part about it was Elon.
Yeah.
yeah.
Help. I mean, I thought
Oh yeah.
Joe Rogan.
I've
too.
always been a huge Elon fan.
Oh, the fact that Elon and Bobby Kennedy, like we've got all these guys now, and they're just like they're hungry, and they're like, we're gonna look behind the
Jeremy
curtains.
Elon's speech at the Trump rally a couple days before. I
was
love
in
it. I just
Pennsylvania.
love
so
it. He's like,
happy.
he's just like, he can
He was
sense
so
the
happy.
people
Yeah,
like
everybody was
loving
just
him. He's
cheering
like,
and loving.
this
He's
crowd
like-
is amazing.
He's like, we're gonna win, right? Yeah.
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 He's so happy.
He's like a
It's a
machine.
new place.
He can't. He processes information and questions and he answers it. It doesn't matter if it's at the detriment of, like the time he came out and said Tesla stock was too high, his own
Yeah,
company.
He didn't care.
And I'm like, oh my, I can't. And I sold. I'm like, I was one of those guys. I
Yeah,
sold it. I'm
Sold
like-
it.
And then the next day it was like, I'm like, what is this guy's deal? I've always been an Elon fan. And
Yeah.
I just think he's very like, he's going to think
Well,
about.
Bobby, he's on the spectrum.
Yeah, well,
People like that are weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's going to clean up all these federal agencies.
Yeah, what is his position? You were telling me.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is per the Rogan podcast, but there's like 450 federal agencies, whereas what do you say? It was in the 1960s
Oh,
or
he told me-
50s. There was only like 17.
Yeah, so you were telling me that he was going to clean it up like X,
Yep, and he was
like
gonna.
Twitter.
Yep, and he's
Fire
basically
everybody via email.
yeah, he's gonna give him severance
sink.
package. He's gonna say, this agency no longer exists. You all have 2 years of severance, so he's not gonna hurt
Your
the
agency's been
economy.
terminated. Yeah.
Yeah, you're out. And then,
Huge.
but the collapse of all of these agencies will save trillions of dollars over that time.
Hey, I think we need to hold Spook to get rid of the Lacey Act violation crap.
Oh yeah, remember he said
Mm-hmm.
that Trump's if he got back in, they were gonna modify it, not get rid of it, but modify it.
Well, it's life changing for silly stuff. Like
Yeah.
you guys should never have to worry about anything driving home to PA when you did. I mean, this guy didn't even go up to his deer
No,
without like 5 witnesses and
Mm-hmm.
and his truck and calling it in. And
Witnesses. Yeah.
Like, truly,
You're right.
like
It's a little nerve wracking. You're like,
you have heard
Very
so
nerve-wracking.
far on the horror stories that you went like, I'm going to be so careful.
I mean,
Oh,
these are
yeah.
coming home with us, right? We're not going spook span style where we're getting replicas made and they
Right.
stay in the state type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it was very much like, lift its head. Okay, put it down. Don't touch it. Get everything tagged, called in, whatever. Do it. Everything you have to.
And I think what I'm saying is like they need to address it to where you should be able to go home.
Sure.
Like you should be able to go home, even if there was like let's say somebody inadvertently tagged it wrong, or you were worried about like Illinois, you can put it on the leg, and you don't have to put it on the antler until you
Attach.
take it off.
Yeah.
And so like Iowa, we don't know if you got to throw everything on there and have it,
Mhm.
Yeah, we did just because.
yeah. So you just do everything. But
You got
there's all those
some
gray,
stuff.
there's
other
all those
stuff you don't
gray
have
area,
to
but the
notch.
law has to change. The law should change to where people should be able to go home, and the law should still be to where you are free and you are innocent till proven guilty, and that's just not the way it is in the
I guess
stuff.
the big thing is it's like, they're thinking that people are just going to like discard like potential CWD parts or whatever.
Yeah.
How many people are actually processing their own deer? Can't
Not
be
very
a lot.
many anymore.
Can't be a lot. I mean,
No.
we do, but like it can't be a lot.
No.
I would say most people were dropping them off at a facility. And if those facilities have whatever permits, capabilities to handle that stuff, then it shouldn't be an issue.
Facilities.
That's a facility. Processing facility.
All right. If we start narrowing it down and closing it out, what's the next week look like?
That's what people really are going to want to know.
What's the next week look like? What does it look like for you going home and got the kids?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your family's in Kentucky.
Mhm.
Your
We're
dad
going
and them are
home
Ohio.
tomorrow. I think from a weather standpoint and a moon standpoint,
Whoa.
Whoa. There's a little
I wish I
Japan-
had that in slow mo. The fly
saw
lands
it,
and
like,
his,
land
and
right
then-
there.
and then his eyes go.
You almost passed out by crossing your eyes so hard.
blacked out. Bobby got the
if you
style
if
right
you
there.
haven't been in Illinois when there's beans being harvested, there's
Mhm.
Japanese beetles everywhere, and that's just what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so unfortunately, we're going home tomorrow just because we got to get home and because our wives are traveling and doing stuff. So we're gonna miss that 2-day stretch. We're hunting tomorrow morning, but then we might probably just shoot one tomorrow morning, and then
We are here till
Yeah, just
Tuesday.
shoot two.
yeah,
Tomorrow morning should be pretty good.
then we'll just do 2.
Yeah,
then.
it's still in the 30s, isn't it?
Think
30,
so.
30 pressure.
High 30s. Oh yeah, 30 pressure.
Where's the X, Bobby? Is it extreme or is it slight?
It's slow.
It's a slow X.
Slow X.
It's a slow X.
Flex.
Peaks. I would say Tuesday would be the best day for deer.
Of course it would
activity.
be. Yeah. We're not listening to Bobby.
Yeah,
Don't
I
listen
agree
to
with you then, but so we're gonna go home and then we'll probably come back on like the 19th.
Yeah, right before gun
'cause
season.
It's gonna rain and
If the weather holds.
everything again, and it looks like a few days leading up to gun season looks pretty
Well, here's what I know is that only 3 or 4 days ago, when we skinned out those deer, they were so fat.
Yep.
I've never had bucks this fat heading into what's the date today? The
10th.
10th. Tomorrow's the 11th. Is tomorrow Veterans Day?
Tomorrow's Veterans Day.
Yeah. The most Pope and Young whitetails. Fun fact.
On Veterans Day.
Because people are off work.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody's service.
Yep. Most Pope and Youngs were killed on Veterans Day because people are in the woods.
Yep.
Back when bow hunting was like,
Speaking to the fat on deer, coincidentally, our Iowa bucks did not.
that's why I asked him. He couldn't remember. So they did not.
Mine for sure didn't. But
These
he
were-
also was like ripped up and
These
infected.
were inch fat all the way down.
Not anywhere
7-year-old,
close.
8-year-old, and then
Yeah, I
a
mean,
5-year-old.
it was like small layer around the back strap type of thing. I don't even remember cutting
Yeah.
off fat.
Mine wasn't noticeably fat. I don't.
Speaking of bass straps, how was your dinner this evening?
It was amazing.
Awesome.
It was.
Yeah,
It was
very
great.
It didn't even drag me down at all. Usually I stuff my face and then I'm like,
How were your tots?
tots are
Yeah, tater tots.
money.
Yeah, it was great. Corn, tater tots. Yeah, it was
Live on
good.
tots.
Oh man, tots.
Are there any tots left?
good. There are.
Bobby probably ate them all.
I told Bobby
might have one
to
or
bring
two for
you
a nightcap.
to bring you the bowl.
Just ketchup him.
So what are we going to do
Big
this
potato,
week?
man.
Bobby's out of the game.
Well, yeah, but I mean, so the 15th.
Are you going to go to other states now?
Yeah, I've got some stuff in Kansas I could go to.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Did you ever sell that big farm?
Yeah.
Kansas?
Yeah.
Oh, well, good.
They killed there were some gigantors this year on there.
Really?
So it was like famine, and then all of a sudden, boom! This year,
Yeah, I mean, it was 6,000 acres, and last year
6,000.
I shot the only deer on it, and then you're bordered. That's like big ranch country,
Yep.
like our neighbors are like, the Merrill Lynch family from, they have 30,000, and right there is Ted Turner's. They have 60,000, and then the Yeti guys have 60. I mean, there's like the Hash Knife, all these ranches are megas, and we got a 6,000 acre ranch, and it's the little guy on the block. But, some of our neighbors, another neighbor right there, I won't say his name, has a huge chunk, and they are managing for big deer. I mean, some of these guys are next level.
So that
stuff.
property can feed off of it a little bit.
Yeah. So you're getting age, and that county of Kansas has just got gigantics. So I'm pretty sure they killed.
It's South Central.
It's south, getting almost westerly. They killed. I think they killed 190-inch 10-pointer on there the other day.
It's a hammer.
Nice.
So
I mean, if we're selling
crazy.
stuff, I got 61 acres in DeWitt. Somebody can buy. It's set up right now. 7 acres of soybeans has not been hunted since hasn't been hunted.
That's when you said that somebody could walk in.
If they can walk in, kill 2 150s without even trying. 2 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get Jared to go down and shoot one.
He ain't trying that hard. He's mentioned it a time or
He's
two.
mentioned it a couple times.
I could draw you a map right now, send you in there, and you take your Lone Wolf Custom in there, and it'd just be on.
Smoke shows.
Thing I love about Kansas is it's so diverse.
Oh yeah.
Like where the part of the ranch they killed that big deer the other day, thousands of acres of grass, not a tree. You want to talk about a deadly tactic? A tree koi out in the middle of that? It's insane.
Because it's the only thing that they've got.
They come out of the woodwork to go to this pole. I mean, it's insane. You just put a tree koi out in the middle of those grass flats and just smoke everything.
That's crazy.
Unbelievable.
We've talked about hunting Western Kansas maybe next year, but that's the thing that we hear is it's like there's no trees. So you're like in a ground blind or some sort of brushed in setting.
The cool thing about Kansas, I say there's a place for everybody. So like Northeast Kansas, I love Northeast Kansas because it feels like here. They're not in droughts. They have good dirt. It's like here. It's very pretty. Like my piece now, it's a 320, and I own it with Lee and Toby, and it's a beautiful farm. It's
in Kansas,
just outside of Topeka. Topeka. I got
Topeka.
Dude, I said Topeka on a reel, and somebody was like, it's Topeka. And so then from then on, every time I said it on there, I said, we're here in Topeka. So anyway, but it is beautiful, and it's like there's like blacktop like almost to the farm, and I can go to Home Depot in 20 minutes, and like I love that.
Are you selling that one?
Yeah, eventually here. And so I got a couple nice deer on there and waiting for
These guys stopped by Lee's house on the way home.
Yeah, we spent 4 hours with Lee and Tiff on Thursday night.
So tell us about your little dream vacation that you're killing out that early in Iowa. It's a lot to take in.
What do you want to know about Iowa?
Well, you killed your big giant buck. Belmar helped you load it up. You got to hunt one of his farms. Kid from PA, 30-something years old. Well, then all of a sudden you're in the car and you're in Iowa, and you stop by Lee and Tiffany's, and then you're
So there was an industry element of it that was pretty interesting. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, I don't know. I guess I commented to Jeremy a few times. I was like, it's funny how 5 years ago, like when we started the podcast, I never would have imagined that we'd go shoot at 187 off Belmar's farm and get to share it with Lee and Tiff and be sitting here with you guys. Like, because I said the same thing about Brackett a year ago when we met Chris. I was like literally, guess whose freaking house I'm going to, So it's been kind of a wild ride from that.
Same deal with me. I mean, I grew up in upstate New York in the Adirondacks and Lake George watching him on TV. I was at pharmacy school, skipping class, going to watching him and watching Lee and Tiffany. And I actually had a similar deal with Lee and Tiffany. I knew George Novosel, Big George.
Yep,
Can't remember.
George. Mhm.
I knew George because he was from Mount Sterling, which is where I went to guide. And I shot that 211 I shot. And like, I was young. I was like, it was 2000.
Yeah. How did you go from music to start shooting 200 inches and then in the game?
Yeah. So anyway, that's a kind of a
George.
long story. So I shot this deer, and George was like, "I'll bring it up to Lee and Tiff's." And I'm like, "Really?
What? Yeah.
This is cool."
Yeah.
So he doesn't
Okay.
doesn't tell me, and I go up there, and I'm already like nervous to meet Lee and Tiffany, you know. And I walk in the door, and Blake Shelton's standing there. He's like, "Oh, hey, Blake Shelton."
You're like, I sing.
And I
I do
sang,
music.
I play strings.
and then I'm like, and then Miranda Lambert came over, and she, you know, in her just sweatpants. "Oh, I'm Miranda." And I'm like,
you're like, I'm Bobby.
but then the one that really
You guys
got me,
want to see my fuzzy goat in the truck?
the one that really got me though was Bill Jordan.
oh,
he was there
yeah,
with him?
Bill,
He stands up. Now he's the one that I'm like, this guy.
the icon.
I grew up
Yeah.
watching all the like Dale Earnhardt and the Sanctuary in Michigan, and like all that stuff was the best. I used to wake up. I lived in the suburbs of Charlotte, North Carolina. Nobody in my family hunted. I lived in the neighborhood. I don't even know why I liked hunting. I'd set an alarm and get up at daylight on Saturday mornings to
Yep.
watch Cabela's Under Wild Skies and Tom Miranda's Adventures, and you know, Getting Close with Lee and Tiffany and all, and your show. And it's like, and so when Bill Jordan got, I'm like, but then the cool thing was after everybody kind of like, and I'm like sitting there eating, you know, I'll never forget bagel bites.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Well, Tiffany
So-
doesn't cook. That's not her gig.
She's got a really nice
cooked,
kitchen, though.
She's cooked. No, she's cooked a
Well,
lot
no,
on
she
there.
learned
She's
now
a
'cause
really
she's got
good
the
cook.
kids. But when we
Yeah.
all hung out, she would just look at me and go, "I don't know, Brackett, but you're going to fend for yourself like the other
What'd
guys.
she
Like I don't
make?
cook."
She
See, I've
made,
always been super impressed because whenever we're there,
s'mores.
she's always got spreads and like
Well,
lots of snacks. And
She made
No,
like
she was the
s'mores
hostess
or
with the
something.
mostest always.
Yeah.
Always. But I think that had a lot to do with her mom coming from Minnesota to come live
Yeah.
with her when she lived in the other house, and then bonding, and that's what that's what my wife does
Yeah.
with her mother now, is learning all the recipes and all the
Yeah. I think the kids thing, because
Oh,
I think she made
yeah.
like when we got there, she had like a big platter of
always got tons of
s'mores or
food,
something
like
there.
snacks,
Yeah.
And then, so what were you eating? What were you eating?
Bagel bites.
So bagel bites.
Yeah.
So
I love
so
some
but
bagel
then
bites.
the cool
Burn your
cool.
mouth.
Yeah, always.
I think I was on the tail end. I think
Oh,
they were
tail end,
cold.
they were cold.
Yeah.
So
Better safe than
Did
sorry.
you wrestle George for them?
no. So then Lee. So then I start talking to Lee, and what the cool thing about those guys, Lee and Tiffany, is like they're so down to earth.
Mhm.
Lee.
Oh, he was jacked for you.
He just came over and we just started talking about deer. He's showing me pictures of deer, and all night we were talking about, and it's still the same stuff.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
dude is not sick of deer hunting at all.
He had the same experience with Bomar, where people were like, well, Josh is this, but he was so excited.
Yeah, like couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Somehow he beat me back. I don't know how he did that, but he did.
Well, that was more just from like a general, like a landowner standpoint. It's like it's one thing to offer just for somebody to come shoot your deer or whatever, but then when they shoot it, it's like,
Well,
how's
show-
he going to feel about this? You
well-
know, especially
well-
when it's that size of a deer.
Show the different skull plates.
To
that we
Bobby
were-
or
the people. What we were, but
the
so you were
peoples.
the people.
So, and to wrap that up. So all this whole group of celebrities come out to my truck, and they're standing there looking at my deer,
Drooling.
and I never even asked for a picture.
we can't show
So
the
that's
camera,
like a
but
that's
we
like
can
a,
see that.
Touch and tips.
a bar story. I don't really go to bars, but that's my bar story, and it's unbelievable because I don't have any pictures.
Look at the difference in that.
That's crazy.
No,
No, well,
Much bigger noggin, huh?
freaking horse head.
Don't have any pictures from what?
when everybody was standing around his
Oh,
211.
Well, we didn't either. And I said on the way there, I was like, we got to make sure to get a picture with Lee. And then it just never felt right.
Well,
I was
we-
like, what are we going to do?
Lee
Take a picture with this
basically-
guy in his house? Like,
Lee basically, we toured the house because it's a new house, right? Whatever, 2 years that they built it.
Yeah.
It's still
Amazing.
finishing. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
beautiful.
unbelievable.
They're
Yeah, so
never getting it finished.
we see
That sounds
obviously
right.
we see like a gnarls, right? Iconic deer on the pedestal.
that was
so-
really cool for me to see the gnarls
Oh,
one in the
yeah.
corner there. I was
That's
like,
the most
there he is.
iconic
Yeah,
deer.
it's like there he
It
is.
is.
There he is.
So the first day I went up to Lee's, like fast forward and I start the whitetail group, and we're literally texting a lot about big deer and stuff. And I'm like, we need to buy some farms together. And he's like, let's do it. I'm like, okay, sweet. So he's like, come up. And he wanted to
Because
look.
he needs more.
He wanted to look
Right.
at some timber, and on his farm we did some logging for him and stuff. And well, I went up there and he's like, oh, come on. We got in a Ranger and we literally just drove around all day long to all these farms, just like from one food plot to another, to this and that, and talk about. And he's like, this is where Gnarls was, and I had a trail there, and just like I'm like,
That farm's cool.
surreal to get to go around and see all this stuff.
That farm's
I-
come a
I
long way,
grew
that
up
one.
watching,
Yeah.
So
The funniest part was the first time I went, when I was telling you about the turkeys and everything,
Mhm.
it was back when they were doing whitetail freaks together, the Kiskies and the Koskis, and they were really tight, and the kids were, and they didn't have kids, and the Kiskies had kids or whatever, but
Yep.
they're all hanging out. And I remember I loved whitetails, but I didn't, not nearly where I'm at. And I watched Lee and Don Kiski in their prime around Lee's fireplace at the original house. And I watched two people geek out on whitetails to the level that I went, how do they do that?
Mhm.
And now we're them,
Yeah.
and he's still him.
and he's still the same way. I remember coming home and talking to Jody back when we were dating, and I was like, they had antlers from all these deer, and they could look at this deer, and they do the same crap that we do. And I just remember that being so Greek then, because there was not that many whitetail freaks then. Well,
Yeah, we weren't.
Dick Idle and all that, like that was
Yeah, the
but that-
original OGs.
Yeah,
But it wasn't from like a management
they were
perspective.
fresh in Iowa, 5 years in Iowa.
Yep.
Kiskies had still just straight up farming.
Yep. Dick Idle and those guys were just out there finding big ass deer.
Mhm.
Period. Like there was no let's grow them, let's develop them. Like they just found them.
Yeah, there was a heyday, because I can tell you, like in the county I live in Brown County, Illinois, in Mount Sterling, some of these houses that you go into and you see these deer they killed in the 90s and stuff, like
87,
whoa.
85.
I mean, some framey
Yeah, giants.
giants.
Check station stuff. I still
I mean,
talk about those days.
Dude, there's a farm. We have a 360 in Monroe County, Iowa, and the neighbor has a like a set of, I can't remember if it's a sheds or a deadhead, but it's like 280.
Jeez.
You just don't even know what's
those
out there.
And those didn't get dropped off.
Yeah, no.
You just don't
Like
know.
back then.
No.
Nope.
You just don't know what's
I
out
mean, even our landowner that we bought from when we first went in, we were looking at the house, because we're buying the whole property, including the house. Looking at the house, we walk in the living room. I'm like, that's a big deer. He's like, yeah, that's 198. I'm like, that's from here. He's like, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah, it is. But there was a picture on
Mhm.
like the listing. It was listed originally by his insurance agent, which was weird. I think he just had like MLS.
he's like, you're an
it
agent,
was very
right?
poor, it was very undermarketed or whatever.
Jake
And
from
there was
State
a
Farm.
picture of that deer on there, and I was like, oh, there's a deer. And then, but to see it in person, I was like, oh, like yeah, that's a giant.
Yep.
It was weird.
Yeah, it was really weird.
I was like, why didn't we realize it was that big?
we didn't realize that was that big either.
I mean, the pictures right around the corner from here. I used to have a farm on the other side of Oak Run, and I had a deer over there, and I told one buddy, go up there and hunt him. It's probably 165. And then I told another friend, and me and Toby were just like, my friend came from New York, and I'm like, yeah, go up here. Goes up there and shoots that thing. It was like 203.
Hey, Bobby, you got any 160s you need me to go kill?
Yeah.
Still got a tag.
I mean, it happens
Jeez.
so often. My cousin was out last year, and there was a deer I thought was 165, and he shot it with 181. My big one from the same farm, I shot this one a few years ago, was 201, and it was November 5th. I had gotten one picture in September, and I thought he was 165, and I'm like, Brought my son up there, youth season, was hunting right there to hopefully maybe see him, and he shot an old mature 8-point, and then I had a camera, kind of off on the beaten path up there, and I got his picture November 5th, and I'm like, oh my God, I misjudged this
At
deer
your
by
place.
so much.
Wow.
And I went up there the next day and shot him. He was 201. Thought he was 165. So these trail cams it's so deceiving.
What do you guys think?
Or trespassers right now on the 22 by the house. Just riding four-wheelers right through the food plots. Just gotta love it.
I freaking hate that.
You know what's crazy? So here's one crazy thing. So like with our logging division, I cannot tell you how many times I have cameras on a farm and we log it during deer season. It is like nothing's going on. I have a big mature deer there. I'll get pictures of guys walking back and forth throughout the day with a chainsaw, skidders, log, skidder, chainsaw, guy, booner, daylight. Like nothing. And that has not just happened once.
That's wild.
Did they just get used to it, or they're going
They
from
just
point A to
know.
point
They
B?
just know they know the difference between sneaking up on them in their bed and all of a sudden there's a person there. They know the difference between.
That's what we talk about with Cody.
But even
he's
when you do
scouting.
that, even when you shoot a deer twice, they're just deer. When they've gotten to 5-6 years old, it's worked.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere. It's so hard to run a deer out of his core. Now it's easy to screw a farm up every year over the long haul, and a big deer never calls
You gotta
home.
go take care of that.
No, that'd be a long drive.
Is what it is.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, there's just this one spot, so is it okay if I jack rock the whole place?
What the hell is he doing?
It's okay if I jack rock the whole place? Like I should be able to put harrows and equipment in my own grass, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Same place every time.
Just to cut him off.
Yeah, I mean, they won't see it. They go in the dark, snowmobiles, whatever.
But what are they doing right now? 11 o'clock on a Sunday night. Poaching?
Probably.
Really?
Probably.
You think
Yeah.
so?
Yeah, I mean, it's close to the neighborhoods. Yep. And I normally get on the forums, like in the neighborhoods, and I'll finally track down. But like every year, it seems like to be a new guy. And all of a sudden he's got a four-wheeler. And I think it's the same guy that I've got pictures in daylight. So like, now I got to go get a hold of sheriffs this week and go track them down.
Yeah, that sucks.
What's crazy about like, back where I'm from in the East Coast, I mean, trespassing is just a thing. Like everybody just you could put up a Trump wall and
they'll climb over it.
It's a weirdest, I mean, mental thing.
Mhm.
Why? Because they just do it. It's a common thing.
I don't know.
Well,
People-
yeah, because I think
Also because
it's
there's
always,
no repercussion.
Yeah, it's always just been like the
Because there's no stakes because the deer aren't
not giant.
They're not. And as the stakes get higher, like Iowa's DNR is like military. I mean, they are, which is good, but in Illinois is really good. But here in general, all the ground I own stuff, I don't know that I've ever had a trespasser. I mean, I've had some things that might have been an accident or this or that, but never like a blatant. It's weird. People just stay off. It's
I'll tell you the
thing.
worst ones back east, and you just had one your uncle saw, is like it's the non-hunters that they live close to these parcels and they just look at it as green space. And they're like, well, I was just walking my dog, or
It's woods.
I'm just going for a walk. And it's like, they're not yours. And they're like, well, yeah, but I'm just was walking through. Like,
it's the neighborhood woods. Winnie the Pooh lives there.
That's it.
Yeah.
And they just like, they have zero, like they think it's like the Adirondacks. They just like, it's just public. They can just walk around, do whatever they want.
They don't understand the stakes that hunters either. And the other thing is like, it's like, I think I didn't really see a whole lot of it, but League had that thing where, somebody had the trail cam photo. Like I pay a lot of attention to property lines because we have a logging business. So like when we're marking timber and stuff, it's critical. So we're always like, we're weighing onyx with evidence of timber change or fences. You would not believe some of these onyx lines that are completely missing stuff, or fences that are 10 yards or 20 yards off of the actual, or just, there's so much funky stuff, and everybody's guilty at some point or other of accidentally, and you might not even know, you might own a farm that you don't even realize the property line isn't what it is. So it's like, I kind of felt bad for him on that, because it's like, dude probably had a trail cam on
Well,
the
I
fence
mean,
line.
that's the big downfall of a lot of them, and it's not the mapping systems as much as it is the county. So, like my county in Kentucky is complete back ass, like holler type stuff. Like all the deeds are still from this rock to this oak tree from 1798. So if you look at Spartan Forge or Onyx or whatever it is, like you're like, okay, here's the boundaries. Not even close.
Right.
That's what they're paying in taxes. They have to have that for a tax purpose standpoint. But the actual deeded boundaries, not even close. Like, in fact, I leased
That'd be a nightmare to log there.
I leased one of the properties from the county game warden. Right. And he was like, I don't have time to hunt. So I was like, I need this guy as my friend. Right. I'll lease your property. And I was like, okay, so like, which one's yours? He's like, no, that's all right. Took it and just drew it. And I'm like, goes across like 9 lines.
That's scary.
And he's like, no, that's it. I'm like, obviously that's the dude I'm going to trust. Right.
Right.
And it's like, how is it that far off? And so even I bought a 275 acre tract down there. It was actually it was 3 tracts. And to this day, I bought that 2 years ago. I'm still not quite sure where the 3rd tract is.
Yeah.
I really don't know. If I look at the map, I'm like, but it's like,
yeah, we've bought farms and we kind of do our own research to see.
You can only go so far though.
Like what it's looking like. Cause a lot of times they'll do the price per acre versus just a lump price. And we'll kind of see if we think it's more or less acres. I've bought farms where I ended up with 10, 15 extra acres.
Yep.
And I've also been on the other side where I, took
shorted.
the gamble and get shorted a couple, but that whole, yeah, it's kind of nerve wracking with the property.
Oh, and also
lines.
if I want a survey on that, it's gonna cost me about 30 G's.
Oh yeah,
and it's
on the
like
big one.
surveys
big
have gotten expensive
on 275
Ooh.
acres. It'll cost me 30 G's, and I'm like, no thanks.
Whitetail Group survey company coming next.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah, I'd pay you. Come on out. I need to find me this 3rd tract. I got it somewhere here, right?
Yeah,
I gotta go to bed.
Yeah, let's wrap up. We'll let Bobby get back to his.
Yeah, he's got to get
His
his
wife
family.
the good news is I can
that
start
deer.
sleeping again.
Yeah, that's right.
So when are you gonna start going to Kansas?
Uh,
It's a little behind, so you got a little breathing room.
I'm waiting on something to show up. Yeah,
Yeah,
kid showed me like a 2:30 on camera, 1.5 miles or 2 away.
that'll do.
He probably not going to show up, but there's that hope.
So you're saying there's a chance?
So you're saying there's a chance?
Miles, nothing in Kansas.
Nothing in Kansas.
Nothing, no.
Nothing.
But we'll see. The next few weeks is the time to kill them. And those resident deer in Kansas, they're not going anywhere. They'll be able to kill them late.
Yeah.
So, but I would like to go out there here the 15th and hunt funnels and.
Oh, full moon.
Yeah, that's coming.
14th, 15th.
5 days from now.
Yep.
Go
Yep.
time.
I should sleep in the morning just to go 13th, 14th, 15th.
You're still gonna go. You're gonna
I
go
know.
hunt, and you're still gonna go 30. You said you're saving your last tag
Not if
for
I
a
kill him
giant.
in the morning.
I think that week this year, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20th, if we get good weather, it's going to be really good.
I think so too.
I
It's
hope
on the
it-
dark side of the moon. I'm not going.
Is it gonna rain during all
Well,
gun
it's,
season?
I think right now it's saying rain through the 18th. And then 19, 20, 21 is like
Magic X's.
So you'll see,
X's everywhere.
you'll
Extreme X.
see, I think you'll see those big deer moving in the mornings, 16, 17.
Bobby, I think they're all dead. I got 1,500 acres.
They're all
and I
laying
got
right
one
here.
deer. I got the one deer I showed you. He broke both of his brows. He's a big bastard.
They're around.
That's it.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Okay. Well, we appreciate Chris Brackett for hosting us.
Yeah, fun.
For
We
this-
didn't get to catch any trout, so that's
for this
next
hunt
time.
companion. Yeah, that's next time. Bobby,
Hunt companion.
Nice to meet
congrats
you guys,
on
finally.
number 2
Yeah.
for the year.
Yep. Thank you.
Freaking obviously, just hearing kind of the process, like not surprised that you
Yeah.
killed 2 giants, honestly.
Yeah. And like, if anybody wants to go back and watch those videos, one is a fully developed farm and one is not. And it shows the differences throughout the year. And luckily, I got to shoot a big deer on both of them. So that
Yeah, that's awesome.
wouldn't
That's
happen
cool.
again in 10 years. But
Yep.
so it's a cool
Right on.
series.
Very cool.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Okay,
man.
guys. Well, good luck this week. Be safe, and we'll catch you on the normal podcast Tuesday night. And this is
Hunt companion.
Hunt companion.
I'm just gonna X out of
Just
here.
X
since
out.
I don't know how to-